thing on the road, 6 o'clock.
He's got to go home and take his turn.
Who's in charge here? I want to speak to somebody in charge. Good, I come here and complain, so I want to get this going. You bet. Your name's the first one on my list. Yeah, I got your email. Well, yeah, reached out to me. Yeah, I appreciate it. That was back to here. I texted you. Right. You never got it. Well,
All you got to do is give public comment, get that done, and no more.
oh yeah, you're gonna get an award. As soon as I get Tim over here, we're gonna get it all squared away. Tim was trying to. Okay, this is the last city of the hall. I'm gonna do this in town. I went to San Francisco. And I just can't. Yeah, I like to. Well, see, they already did this. Yeah, life will get better. Life will get better. At least it is.
Next time we got to grab you by the scruff of the head.
At least you.
A couple later. Meanwhile, John said he got out.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the City Council. The City Council is convening from closed session. There's nothing to report. And let's go ahead and adjourn that meeting at 6:08 p.m. Want to call the Elk Grove City Council regular meeting on Wednesday, February the 12th to order at 6:08 p.m. and request the city clerk to read the Metro replay schedule.
Thank you, Mayor. This meeting of the Elk Grove City Council will be replayed on Metro Cable Channel 14 on Friday, February 14th at 1 p.m. and Sunday, February 16th at 6 p.m. It is being closed captioned. It'll be webcast at sacmetrocable.tv. City Council meeting videos are also archived on the city's website at elkgrovecity.org. For members of the audience who may have personal electronic devices, please place them on silent mode during the meeting. Elk Grove City Council welcomes, appreciates, and encourages participation in the City Council meeting. City Council requests that you limit your presentation to 3 minutes per person so that all present will have time to participate. City Council reserves the right to reasonably limit the total time for public comment on any particular noticed agenda item as it may deem necessary. Pursuant to Resolution Number 2010-24, no individual speaker concerning public comment may address the City Council for more than 3 minutes. Speaker timer on the podium counts down the individual speaker time remaining and will turn yellow after the first 2 minutes have passed, indicating 1 minute remains to summarize comments. If you wish to address the council during the meeting, please complete a blue speaker card, which can be found at the back of the chamber, and provide it to the Assistant City Clerk prior to consideration of the agenda item. Thank you, Mayor.
Roll call, please.
For the roll call, Councilmember Nguyen. Councilmember Hume.
Here.
Councilmember Suen.
Here.
Vice Mayor Detrick.
Here.
And Mayor Lee.
I am here. Next item.
Take us on to the Pledge of Allegiance.
1.2, I'd like to invite the president of the NAACP, Betty Williams, to lead us in the pledge, please.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And next item is moment of silence. Council Member Pat Hume.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to ask that as a part of the moment of silence, and particularly that we close the meeting in honor of Lorraine Krupp. She and her sister were lifelong residents of the area. She passed away at the tender age of 99, and she was very active with the Elk Grove Historical Society,
Absolutely.
among other things.
Thank you, Councilman. The beginning of every city council meeting, the council would like to invite the members of the public to join us in a moment of silence. So if you could, please. Thank you very much. Next item.
Take us to section 2, approval of the agenda.
Okay, you have an agenda. There's a motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Next item.
Under section 3, we have no closed session items, which will take us to section 4, our presentations and announcements, starting with item 4.1, which is recognition of service for Planning Commissioner Kevin Spees.
All right, Kevin Spees. Councilmember Hume, you're up to bat.
That had to have been for you. Well, as a former planning commissioner myself, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you, Kevin, for the years of dedication you put into the Elk Grove Planning Commission. We have the certificate of recognition here, signed by all of the council members, and there's a lot of whereases on here, and therefore be it resolved. But just generally, I want to say that I know the time that it takes, the effort, and the critical thinking that goes into doing that job. And I know you stepped down for a very specific reason, and that's an honorable thing to do. And just generally want to say congratulations to you and best of luck in the future. And thank you so much for serving the city of Elk Grove.
Awesome. Thank you much.
Appreciate it. So I will just read just a little bit of the therefore be it resolved. The City Council of City of Elk Grove hereby recognizes and celebrates Kevin Spees for his many years of dedicated service on the City of Elk Grove Planning Commission, extending our utmost appreciation and respect and commending Kevin for his exemplary service to the community of Elk Grove. Portrait mode, you gotta get closer. Thanks. Mike,
Thank you much.
If you want to say something.
Oh, sure. I hadn't prepared anything, but first I want to thank the mayor and the council. Over the last few years, we've had the opportunity to work on a number of issues together, one of those being the general plan. It was a little bit longer than any of us would have liked to have had, but I think in the end, we came out with a fantastic plan. And so thank you very much. I've really enjoyed working with you. To my fellow commissioners, it's a pleasure working with them, and I learned so much from them, and I really appreciate my time. One thing that I think I'd like us all to remember is the view from the cheap seats, right? There's an old Alabama song that they talk about the cheap seats, and I think for those of us who have had the privilege of being on the dais, we need to remember that. And I think that you all have done very well with that, and I appreciate that. I look forward to seeing the new replacement tonight. I know that you'll all work well together to make that happen, and I'm so very much looking forward to that. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you very much to my fantastic wife, Angela Spees, for supporting me in everything that I do. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, next item.
Take us on to item 4.2, which is a proclamation in recognition of Black History Month.
Betty Williams, step on up. So, Ms. Williams, I have the honor of reading the whereases, and I'm going to invite the entire City Council to step on down after I finish reading the proclamation for a photo opportunity. So the proclamation is to recognize Black History Month, February 2020. Whereas in 1929, Senator Woodson laid the foundation for Black History Month to dedicate an observance of the contributions, accomplishments, and achievements of Black Americans, a history that previously had all but yet erased from national history and underrepresented in important policy decisions. And since 1976, February has been designated Black History Month as a time in which especially memorable events are recognized and celebrated, honoring and affirming the importance of African American history as an essential element to the foundation of American history. And Black Americans for generations have courageously led the pursuit of justice, equality, struggling to overcome the past, yet still moving forward, taking on the challenges to advance reform and break down barriers as we strive as a community to live by the founding principles that all people are created equal. And it is important to take the time to learn from the many lessons found in history's failures, successes, disappointments, and triumphs as we strive as a community to pursue an inclusive vision, maximizing our potential to positively shape our world. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the entire City Council of the City of Elk Grove, which hereby affirms and proclaims February 2020 as Black History Month in the City of Elk Grove, and urges the community to remain committed, not just during Black History Month, but every day of the year to be champions working towards the ideals of equality, justice, freedom, opportunity, and hope for all. Signed on this 12th day of February. Council, could step it down, please.
Thank you.
Would like to say something?
Wow. On behalf of the Greater Sacramento NAACP, I thank you for this proclamation. I am honored to receive it on behalf of the NAACP. We do cover the cities of Galt all the way to the Nevada county line. The vision of the NAACP is for the National Association is to ensure that a society in which all individuals have equal rights without discrimination based on race. And our mission of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People is to secure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights in order to eliminate race-based discrimination and to ensure health and well-being of all persons. And the fact that you recognize us today during Black History Month, I am so honored, and I so appreciate you taking the time to recognize the Greater Sacramento NAACP. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, next item.
Take us to section 5, public comment.
Okay, public comment. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for signing up to speak. I'd like to remind each and every one of you that you are allocated 3 minutes. After the first 2 minutes, the light on the timer will change color. That's your opportunity to sum it up. I don't mean to be rude, but we have to stick to the time, and I will interrupt you if you exceed the 3 minutes. With that in mind, let's call up our first speaker, Crystal Cornelissen.
Hello again. As some of you may be aware, there were fair political practice complaints filed against 3 city employees, and one against someone that the city says was never an employee for the city, although I have bid documents that show he held the title of project manager for the Elk Grove Aquatic Center, and he also held the title of City of Elk Grove architect. Anyhow, the city's attorneys responded. Well, actually, it wasn't the city's attorneys. It was Cronick, Moskowitz, Tiedemann, and Gerard who sent the response. It was signed by Ms. Ibrahimi. They alleged that Big B had been waging a public campaign against the city founded on misinformation and public shaming. They accuse Big B of disseminating false and misleading information. The public shaming is 100% true and correct. The city should be ashamed. As for false and misleading information, we have documents to back up everything we have said here or anywhere else. I'm not sure what that has to do with the FPPC complaints, though. Looks like the city is trying to shift blame away from themselves and onto Big B once again. Ms. Ibrahimi goes on to accuse Big B of misrepresenting themselves as an Elk Grove company. If she would have done her homework, she would have known that we had an Elk Grove office up until recent months when we had to close the doors because of this lawsuit. But once again, I ask, what does that have to do with the FPPC complaints? While the response from Ms. Ibrahimi goes on and on about things that have nothing to do with those complaints, I was quite disturbed to find pictures of my social media showing news articles that I had shared, presented as evidence, and also a copy of a public records request I had made for documents pertaining to this case. And when Ms. Ibrahimi goes on to state, and I quote, that Big B is wasting city resources while the city works to resolve the legitimate legal claims related to the project, is she saying that investigating me isn't a waste at $400 to $500 an hour for their services? This is what your tax dollars are going to, citizens of Elk Grove, to dig up dirt on me. And last I checked, I have a First Amendment right to voice my opinions, but I do ask once again, what does my social media have to do with these complaints filed against 3 city employees? I feel the city is trying to bully me and I feel violated as I've done nothing wrong. And isn't it against the law to retaliate against someone for addressing the government in a public forum? So yes, this is me publicly shaming the city of Elk Grove. So what now? Is it going to escalate further than social media stalking? Personally, I hope my employer does not settle and this case goes to trial. I would love to see this case as a matter of public record for all to see. Brian and Dory Erickson are respected, hardworking, and honest members of society. And what you have done already and continue to do is despicable.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is David Anderson. Following David Anderson is Brian Erickson.
Hi, I'm David Anderson. I'm just going to read into you an email that you have had in the past, and it would be good to refresh your memory. This is an email from Jeff Werner on September 25th, 2018, to Bob Murdoch, Jennifer Alves, and carbon copy to Sean at Roebling Construction. Bob, we're getting major pushback from both Arntz and Big B. I fear that if we're unable to offer any compensation for performing the work, they will refuse. This is just a heads up, and I still recommend moving forward with our approach, but I am less optimistic now. Please also note that 3 to 4 week timeline Big B is sticking to with regards to their experts' review. We may be able to mitigate some of this if we're willing to provide them with some of Harvey's data, just measurements and inventory of cracks and spalls. Jennifer, I spoke with both Tom and Harvey today, and they both agreed that providing the field data would not be a major concern at this time. They suggest labeling it as preliminary and providing with a statement for use at their own risk. Tom and Harvey agreed that this information would come out down the road anyway, and Harvey has no plans to make any changes to it between now and then. I see this as having little negative effect and some potential positive effect. Let me know if we're okay to share the data given the potential time savings. The response comes from Jennifer the same day, and she writes, replying to all, okay, so long as it's just the raw data and you provide the listed caveats, I can live with giving that information. To provide a little bit more context, Marcia Perry Terrace from Roebling clarifies on 9/12, she writes, there are some QA/QC issues that we can talk about, but the city had 2 concrete experts out, not Roebling, who both stated the design is the primary reason for the pervasive cracking and spalling. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Brian Erickson. Following Brian Erickson is Larry Sahota.
Evening. I just want to say that what David was talking about was an email that obviously Bob and Jeff Warner got from Jennifer Alves. That's referring to a expert report from Harvey Haynes. And I think it'd be really good is if you could ask Mr. Hobbs and get that report and read that report and put your own 2 cents on it. That's all I have to say tonight, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker is Larry Sahota. Following Larry Sahota is Mark Graham.
Hello, my name's Larry Sahota. I've introduced myself to all of you. I'm the commander of the American Legion. I came here tonight to thank the council, Jason Behrman, Lana, for the beautiful city hall, or the city community center that we have, the Veterans Hall. Outstanding. The veterans love it, and I just want to thank you for that. The second thing I wanted to thank you for was I applied for a grant for some banners for the city of down Elk Grove Boulevard. There was a complaint about the flags not being able to lower half mast when they're put out. And so by putting a black ribbon on it when it's supposed to be at half mast, this is a half mast ribbon. I applied for a grant from a council member here. And so I'd like to leave these for you. I thought they were going to go to Doug Scott, but he told me that was someone else, so I'll give them to Jason. And again, I just want to thank you guys. You guys, we can't be happy. We can't be happier with the haul that you guys gave us, and we really do appreciate it. So thank you again. Oh, one last thing. This Saturday, thanks to Darren, who gave me the information, I got a hold of a Tuskegee Airmen person who will come and give a history of the Tuskegee Airmen at 3:30 at the community center, the main hall, and everyone's welcome to come. So 3:30 at the main hall. They'll have a mobile museum, and I think it'd be very interesting. It's really fitting for Black History Month. So thank you, Darren. Thank you,
Larry?
all.
Larry, do
Commander?
Yes, I'm sorry.
you have a flyer or anything on that?
Yes, I do, and I've
could you-
given it to Jason. I've given it to all of you, matter of fact.
So is it electronic version? I haven't seen it.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I
I
haven't seen
I
it.
emailed it to you.
Okay.
I'll email it again.
I'd appreciate it, because that
Not a
way
problem.
we could spread the news on it.
Sure, and I think it's on the city calendar already. So
Thank you, Larry.
we've gotten it out there. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Mark Graham.
And Mr. Graham did submit a video that he'd like to have in conjunction with his comments. The video is just under 2 minutes, I believe, but we'll take cues from Mr. Graham as to when you want to view that. So,
Can I start it when I'm ready to start it?
feel
I'm
free.
not- I'm
Yeah,
not
just
ready
give me the cue. I'll pull it up on the screen, but when you want it to go, just point my way. Let me know.
All right. Okay, Mayor and Council, Mark Graham, Elk Grove. I appreciate the meeting with Mr. Berman and Mr. Hobbs. I'm not going to go into details about that, but I had several recommendations for what the city could do to advance the interests of the city regarding telecommunications policy, and I asked them, what do you think about this? And so what they said for each one of them was, we will take the direction of the council. So hopefully we'll get to that point where you provide some. All right, I want to start the video, please. This is Davis City Council, January 28th. They had a meeting similar to the one that you had in August.
So we are on to our first regular calendar
policy.
item 6, which is the public hearing on the zoning ordinance amendment. So my guess is,
All right, good evening, Mayor, good evening, Council. As City Manager Webb noted, Ashley Feeney and Ender Kalsa here to present the wireless telecommunications ordinance.
Can you
and,
pause it for
small
just a
cell
moment?
Policy.
Mr.
Specific-
Lindgren, can you pause this for a moment? What I want, the key of this video is I want to show you how the mayor handled a question from one of the residents. Basically, he said, we will get the staff to answer many of the questions from the audience. I want you to see that. Okay, please.
What we're asking for the council to do tonight is hold a public hearing and approve an ordinance regarding wireless communication facilities. We're also asking that you approve a resolution adopting a citywide policy regarding permitting requirements and development standards for small wireless facilities.
Similar to what you did in August.
Gonzalez, I've been a resident for 26 years. I'm a retired nurse midwife. And I just have a question. So if the 250-foot setback is in place, would there be any place for public awareness or public comment if a wireless provider requests to place a small cell facility closer than 250 feet?
Check out the mayor's
So
response.
the questions that come up during this public comment, many of them will ask staff to address at the end of the public comment period.
you.
Thank you.
Now it shows it again, just briefly.
My name is
A instant
Gonzalez. I've
replay.
been a resident for 26 years. I'm a retired nurse midwife. And I just have a question.
Here's the
So
mayor's
The
answer.
questions that come up during this public comment, many of them will ask staff to address at the end of the public comment period.
you.
Thank you.
He said the questions that come up during public comment, many of them we will ask staff to address at the end of public comment. They are taking advantage of the wisdom of their residents. You know, surely this council does not presume that you have all the wisdom on all the policy issues, right? You acknowledge that there are some folks, some residents that come to you that have researched these issues and they know what they're talking about. And I think that you should take advantage, you should make a strong effort to take advantage of the wisdom of your constituents, the residents that come here and talk to you on many issues. You should make every effort, if they have a question, to get it answered, if they have a comment, because usually what's behind the questions and the comments of the residents is they're showing you a better way to do something.
Thank you,
That's
Mr.
what you're
Graham.
after.
Appreciate it. All right, seeing that there are no additional speakers, let's move on to the next item.
And that'll be Section 6, General Administration Information.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. A few items to report on. First of all, last week, I was able to attend with our Deputy City Manager, Kara Reddick, City Managers Conference for League California Cities, in which the city was awarded the award for the advancement of diverse communities by the City Manager's Department. I was happy to accept this award on behalf of the city for the efforts that the city's undertaken over the last 2 years relating to advancing our inclusion strategy and the advancement of diversity within our community, within our organization. It's quite an honor. And something that has been earned thanks to the hard work of many people and our staff, as well as the leadership provided by the City Council. So very proud of that. Recently, this receipt of 2 new paratransit cutaway buses this past month. The City of Elk Grove is now officially the first jurisdiction in the Sacramento region to operate its entire transit fleet using compressed renewable natural gas technology. The city's transit vehicles produce significantly less greenhouse gas emissions compared to other gasoline or diesel-powered transit vehicles in the region due to this technology. Please join me in extending appreciation of the city's transit system manager, Mike Costa, and our fleet and facilities manager, Doug Scott, for our clean and green status. In November, the City Council created the Whitelock Parkway Pedestrian Signal Project to signalize the mid-block crosswalk between Bruceville Road and Bighorn Boulevard. Remember, that was in response to a pedestrian accident that had occurred prior to that. As an update on this item, the project was advertised last month and the construction contract was awarded yesterday. So that construction should be getting underway shortly and completed this spring. The city will be hosting a workshop tomorrow night, February 13th, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Center at District 56 to discuss strategies to adopt to climate-related impacts related to flooding, extreme heat, and the reduction in gas and sales tax revenues. Public input from the workshop will be used to create a community mobility resiliency plan to respond and adapt to anticipated impacts on the transportation system. More information is available on the city's website. The city is taking a second look at our Camera Road corridor and considering a new vision that considers employment trends and today's business site selection priorities. There are plays for mixed-use development, and what would it look like? How would development integrate with Camera Road and its role as a regional connector? These and other questions will be explored as part of the public workshop on Tuesday, February 25th at the Captain's Quarters in the Elk Grove Aquatic Center at 6 p.m. The first meeting will be an introduction to the project and general discussion. We invite and encourage members of the community to join the conversation. Again, more information is on the city's website. The police department is participating with the Fly Brave Foundation and Amped Fitness for another year of Fly Fit. The Fly Fit buddies up Elk Grove Police Department staff as coaches and mentors for individuals with developmental disabilities age 5+. to learn about each other and build community bonds through fitness. Fitness trainers from Amped Fitness will lead each age group through a series of exercises followed by a game of soccer, basketball, or kickball. Registration is now open for students. Details are available on the police department's website. Also, just a reminder, we have two different programs that are open right now. One is the Mayor's Volunteer Award nominations that are open. Nominations are due through March 6th. And then we also have our nonprofit grant application period that's also open right now and will be open for the CSG grant, the community service grant through February 21st, and the event sponsorship grant through February 28th. And just a reminder, we will be closed next Monday in observance of President's Day. And I'm happy to answer any questions that the council might have.
Are there any questions? No questions. All right. Thank you. Right, next item.
Go to section 7, council comments, reports, and future agenda items.
Okay, Councilmember Nguyen.
Thank you, sir. I don't have much. I just want to let everybody know that I am holding an info session with Dignity Health. As you know, they will be expanding their hospital on the 19th at 6 p.m., and that will be there at their Weimar location. Our Links to Law Enforcement program will be starting up again next week. It's a 6-week program that's in partnership with the Sacramento Police Department, the Sheriff's Department, our Elk Grove Police Department, and CHP, and recruitment of officers in all walks of the community. So we have a African-American cohort, a Latino cohort, and an API cohort. And then I will also be holding an info session with CNU at Roundtable Pizza off of Bruceville and Whitelock on March 2nd at 6 p.m. And lastly, I look forward to attending the committee meeting with the students of the Styrofoam Committee on the 24th with council members soon. That's all that I have.
Thank you. Councilmember Hume.
Thank you, Mayor. Quite a bit to report. Since the last council meeting, attended the District 56 grand opening and then the city's holiday party the following night, and just what a fantastic facility that is, and really proud of the work the staff did, and what a great opportunity to see everyone there having a good time. Had the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority meeting, the Connector Joint Powers Authority meeting, had the district engineer of the Regional Sanitation District down here to meet with city staff to discuss sort of changing things within the sanitation districts. Had an STA board meeting. Was not able to make the end of watch crab feed, though I heard it was a good time. I had a different auction I was doing down in Old Sac, and then had RT on Monday, and we have an STA meeting tomorrow. That's all I have.
Excellent. Councilmember Stone.
Thank you, Mayor. Had the opportunity to attend with the other members of the Sacramento Area Council of Governments education trip down to exchange with the San Diego area of governments, how they're incorporating transit in their suburban communities throughout the greater San Diego region, and how they funded those improvements and challenges in implementation. We had a SACOG Transportation Committee meeting, and then for STA, we had our ad hoc committee met today, and we have a meeting tomorrow, as Councilmember Hume mentioned, and we had a very, I'll just say, successful conversation at the ad hoc committee meeting, which I look forward to announcing and talking about tomorrow. Finally, as Mr. Sahota mentioned, the Tuskegee Airmen, the African-American airmen that fought during World War II, otherwise known as Red Tails. You may have heard of the movie. Cuba Gooding Jr. portrayed Colonel Spanky Roberts. One of the daughters will be at the Veterans Hall this Saturday to talk about that and the challenges of civil rights and what African Americans went through in achieving equality in the military. So thank you. Hope you can make it. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. And Vice Mayor Detrick.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not going to go over all the items I've been to, but a lot of great community events. I did want to touch base on one thing that, for clarity, that Mark Graham brought up. He brought up the issue of public comment, that what he showed was an agendized item. And we do respond, typically the council or our executive team will respond to items that are talked about during an agendized item, but not to be confused with the general public comments where it's not agenda item. Based on the Brown Act, We're not supposed to go into a lengthy discussion. And I know that was an issue he brought up at the last meeting, but I just want to be clear to the audience as well as to Mark Graham that there's two different issues. There's the public comment for non-agenda items that we cannot respond to in any detail, and we're not going to direct staff to respond to go into detail either. That's something that can either be taken offline. And then items that are on the agenda, when public comment is done, we either during the item respond from the council or ask staff typically to respond. Because I think it was a little bit misleading what he portrayed there.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. That was
Mayor,
okay.
yeah, just real quick, I forgot, the others mentioned the CNU outreach, and I know given that it's in my district, I think it'd be important. The understanding of the date I have is the 27th of February. I am still waiting on a final notice on the actual venue, so I think we'll get the word out about that when the time comes, but on February 27th is the date we're booked for. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. As I was saying, I really appreciate that, Mr. Vice Mayor, for clarifying that. And, you know, I mean, sometimes you get snippets and it doesn't tell the full story. And I do really appreciate you clarifying that so that the public is aware. I'm not going to highlight anything that's been mentioned with the exception of two events. One, Lakeside HOA meeting. Councilmember Darren Soon had an opportunity to join me as well. But this is an opportunity for the association to have some questions on services and to point out some problem areas in the community in which staff was there. And so I'm very grateful, Jason, for delegating that and making sure that there was staff there. I want to also thank the chief for having the officers there, POP officer and crime prevention, and Darren for having the code enforcement. And I think Shane's in the back, right? Yeah, there he is. And so I want to say Jeff was there as well. I don't know if Jeff is here this evening, but with the team, the presentation was very well done, and they answered certainly a lot of the questions that were raised during the session. So I want to take this opportunity to thank city staff and really appreciate that. The other item I'd like to highlight is I had a chance to go back to Dignity to take a closer look at the Da Vinci machine, which is a surgical machine that they had. It was pretty darn impressive. Members, if you haven't seen it, it certainly puts in perspective how important it is for kids nowadays to play with these virtual games, because the future doctor essentially is on a machine, and you know, it's less intrusive. It certainly is going to speed up the recovery, and it's really nice to see one of the local hospital actually have this machine, which costs about $1 million, and you know, certainly worth it. And you know, seeing that and actually getting on the machine and magnifying some of the things that I didn't think that, you know, existed, such as a $5 bill in which on the back of the bill had all the states written on the top of the Lincoln Memorial. Had no clue. And so I was thoroughly impressed, but you know, just wanted to highlight in the event that any of the members would have the opportunity, go take part in that. It's pretty cool. Yeah. All right.
Mayor, one other item I
Go ahead.
forgot that everybody was talking about the CNU town halls. In District 3, we'll be hosting CNU Medical Center Town Hall at Steve's Pizza, which is at 9135 West Stockton Boulevard. And it's over there by Best Buy and that area. And it was at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And it'll be, again, an informational town hall on the CNU Medical Center.
Is that by chance that you're having it at the restaurant that you own? Just kidding.
just another great name.
Yeah. Yeah, shh, quiet. Just kidding. All right. Thank you, members. Let's move to the next item.
Take us to Section 8, the consent calendar items.
All right. I want to open for public comment. Seeing that no members of the public have signed up to speak, want to close public comment. Council deliberation and direction.
Move council consent.
Got a motion? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? All right. Next item.
Take us to Section 9, our public hearings, starting with item 9.1, which is a public hearing to consider conditional use permit amendment and design review amendment for WellQuest Living of Elk Grove, formerly The Landing. located at the southeast corner of East Stockton Boulevard and Cantwell Drive.
Sorry about that. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm David Ulrey, Associate Planner. And I'm the project planner for the WellQuest Living of Elk Grove project, formerly known as The Landing. The project's located at the southeast corner of East Stockton Boulevard and Cantwell Drive. And it consists of a conditional use permit amendment and design review amendment with modifications including the relocation of a pool to a central courtyard, the relocation of the club room amenities to the main building, the reintroduction of a previously approved independent living cottage, the addition of gates around the community, and an amended landscape plan with a deviation from the requirement that 33% of all trees be from 24-inch boxes. Here you'll see the approved site plan. There was a prior amendment. Originally, where the pool is shown on there was a cottage duplex. The owner has since decided to go back to the original plan and put that there and relocate the pool to the central courtyard. Here are the proposed amenities, and many of which were in that other club room, which were next to the former proposed pool location. Gates and fencing have been added as an extra layer of security. The gates have been conditioned to be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And fencing fronting East Stockton and Cantwell Drive will be open view tubular steel. The revised landscape plan deviates from the requirement of 33% of all trees being from 24-inch boxes. The revised plan provides 21% of the trees from 24-inch boxes. And the revision provides 47 additional trees overall on the site as opposed to the former one, and 2 additional species. And all trees along property lines adjacent to the residential uses will be from 24-inch boxes. Per CEQA guidelines, section 15183, no further environmental review is required. The project is consistent with the general plan designation and all applicable general plan policies. The project complies with all applicable municipal code, land division, and zoning code requirements aside from the requested landscape deviation. And there are ongoing general plan EAR measures covering noise, traffic, air quality, and environmental protection. And so with that, staff recommends that the City Council find that no further environmental review is required pursuant to section 15183 and adopt a resolution approving the conditional use permit amendment and the design review amendment. And that concludes my presentation. I'm here to answer any questions. The applicant did want to speak as well.
Are there any questions? Got one question.
Yeah, I got actually a couple questions.
Sure.
I don't believe we've seen you at the podium before. Is that true?
I've been once before back in September.
Oh, you have been? Okay, good. That was my only question.
Oh, okay.
Councilmember Sin.
Thank you. So welcome to your second presentation. Question, it could be for you, but the applicant can answer it as well. The reduction in trees, I understand sometimes you want to reduce the number of 24-inch box for cost reasons. However, they also increase the number. So is this an offset due to cost, or was there another reason why?
I think the applicant would probably want to speak on that, but I believe it was a combination of wanting to get more trees on the property and cost.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions? No? No questions. Thank you. All right. At this point, I want to declare public hearing open, and I'd like to invite the applicant to come on up and speak. Just for the record, there is no time limit for the applicant, so go ahead.
Hello, I'm Stephen Ballier with Jeffrey Demir and Associates. We're the architect of record on the project. Love to answer any questions you may have, and then also would love to introduce a member of the WellQuest team here this evening that would like to say a few words. So to answer the question with regard to landscaping, yeah, we believe that adding more trees and again, having those on the perimeter, the 24-inch box are at the perimeter of the site, and most of the trees have already been planted, so we thought that even if they are slightly smaller, planting them now prior to the final review of the project by time planning does get out to review the project, they probably won't be quite as big as the 24-inch box, but they'll be much larger than what if we would have waited to the end to plant those. So
Right.
hence that was a decision made there. And then changing the species was just creating something a little, hopefully more drought tolerant was the only reason for that change.
Okay, no, that's good. And I was glad to hear you kept the 24-inch adjacent to the residents, the existing residents, so.
Absolutely. In
That's good.
fact, the original plan that the city approved alternated 24-inch box and the 15-gallon, and we went ahead and did all 24-inch at that location, just hopefully to show that we're a good neighbor, and then also along East Stockton Boulevard for the same reason, just to hopefully show that we're a good participant in the community.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. And with that, I'd like to introduce Steve with WellQuest.
Hi, I'm Steve Sandholtz. I'm the CEO of WellQuest Living, and we'll be really brief, but wanted to thank council and staff for working with us on some of these plan changes. WellQuest was not the original applicant. This building was started with a previous owner. We acquired the building mid-construction in August of this past year and recognized that there were a few things we wanted to change. And the reason we made those changes kind of ties back to the nature of WellQuest. We are a family-held company. We're based in Salt Lake City, Utah, but very active in California. We have another project under construction in Granite Bay. We have a project in Palo Alto, and then 3 that we operate in Southern California, 1 under construction in Riverside County. So we're a growing company, but we are a long-term hold company. We didn't buy this building so that we could come in and make a few tweaks and then sell it to the next operator. We think more in terms of generations than cycles, and so we expect to be a long-term member of the Elk Grove community, and so wanted to introduce ourselves. We're excited to be here. We love the area. We're committed to it. The changes we made to the building, we think, will improve the long-term value and help us be, a good community participant for a long time. I wanted to quickly introduce our local team, if they would stand. So, so Jennifer, Christina, and Tammy are our first employees for WellQuest of Elk Grove. We also have some of our future residents here this evening. I would love for them to wave. So we're excited to have them, and that's really what I want to do, is introduce you to WellQuest, let you know that we're excited to be here. We plan to be here for a long time and be a very good neighbor and member of the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy to answer any questions about WellQuest or about what we're doing with the project if you have any.
Are there any questions? Vice Mayor.
Well, besides you guys both having great names, so that's in my district, and so you'll be indirectly neighbors of mine. So
Great.
welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, thank you. And at this point, want to open for public comment. Seeing that no members of the public have signed up to speak, want to close public comment and invite the applicant back if you would like to speak some more and rebut yourself. Or if not, then we're good, right? Okay, I want to declare public hearing closed. And council deliberation and direction.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstention? All right, next item.
That'll take us on to item 9.2, public hearing to consider an ordinance amending the City of Elk Grove zoning map and a resolution approving a tentative subdivision map design review for subdivision layout and tree removal permit for the Creekside Estates project.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. I'm back. So I'm the project planner for Creekside Estates. And the project is located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Bond Road and Waterman Road. The project consists of a rezone of approximately 7.79 gross acres from AR5 to RD4, a tentative subdivision map and design review to divide the existing parcel into 15 single-family lots, an open space lot, and a drainage lot, and a tree removal permit for the removal of a 12-inch valley oak tree. And it is important to note that no residential construction is proposed at this time. So the rezone is from AR5 to RD4. The AR5 designation is actually inconsistent with the estate residential general plan designation, so this will be remedying that. Once again, the tentative subdivision map will result in 15 new single-family parcels, an open space lot, and a drainage lot. The project has been reviewed alongside the citywide design guidelines and is consistent with subdivisions of similar density within the vicinity. And the project will build the multi-use and equestrian trails on the site consistent with the bicycle and pedestrian and trails master plan. And connectivity to these trails will be provided through Court A. The inclusion of open space lot and the drainage lot will provide a transition from the northern agricultural properties to the denser subdivisions to the south. And so there are a total of 8 valley oaks on the site. The project requires a single valley oak to be removed. And this is due to the required trail alignment and the grade of the site. And removal of the tree will be subject to mitigation and development control measures as outlined by the municipal code. Per CEQA guidelines, section 15183, no further environmental review is required. The project is consistent with the general plan designation of a state residential and all applicable general plan policies. The project complies with all applicable municipal code, land division, and zoning code requirements. And a condition of approval has been added requiring compliance with all applicable climate action plan policies. The project is also within the maximum vehicle miles traveled for the state residential designation as set by the general plan. And there are ongoing general plan EIR measures covering noise, traffic, air quality, and environmental protection. And with that, staff recommends that the City Council find that no further environmental review is required pursuant to section 15183, adopt an ordinance approving the rezone, and adopt a resolution approving the tentative subdivision map, design review for subdivision layout, and tree permit subject to the findings and conditions of approval.
Okay. Are there any questions? One question.
Yeah. Hi, David. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I have actually a couple of questions, not so much with this subdivision itself, but into how it's going to relate into potential future development.
Sure.
Particularly to the parcels that would be to the east. Did we look at anything that would have created, a stub street that could be tied into later if the parcel to the east develops?
So the parcel to the east is actually within the 100-year floodplain, so it's not, I don't believe it's developable.
The whole parcel is undevelopable?
To the east, correct.
Because I know then the parcel that's on the other side of that parcel, Rancho Davalos, is for sale, and I would assume that somebody would want to be coming in to develop that parcel.
Okay.
We would have to verify the extents of the 100-year floodplain on the other property. I don't know if it's all 100% inundated.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't want to hold up this project necessarily on that, but you can see where I'm going with this, that you have a driveway coming off of Bond Road that serves 15 lots, and then potentially another mini subdivision that would be immediately to the east of that, and potentially another one immediately to the east of that. It just seems like we're putting a lot of driveways and not a lot of off-street circulation.
Sure. Yeah, no, I know for a fact that that was within the floodplain, and they were kind of constrained on the site. So immediately to the east, I believe that to not be developable.
Okay, maybe while the applicant is presenting their case, you can verify that for me. And then my second question is that what is the thinking or the city policy with respect to the trail that seems to me like it's a considerable expense to put in that doesn't really go anywhere? I mean, it starts at the one side and comes back at the other side.
So I think that Darren might be able to answer that a little bit more.
I could speak to that if you'd like me to, Darren. So that trail is part of the Laguna Creek Trail, and there's actually, it continues down from up north. It does have a crossing across Laguna Creek just to the east of this project, so it does tie in to the overall bike ped network. There's also a branch to the south that exists on Sierra River Drive, which is just to the east of this project. So it does tie into the overall bicycle trails master plan network.
Do you have an exhibit that shows that, Antonio?
I don't have it with me, but we might be able to, I don't know if we can pull one up.
Okay, I'll hold my other comments for now.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah.
Councilmember?
Just to follow up on Councilmember Hume's question. So you said that, I know this map is out of the floodplain. Did they file a letter of map revision for this, or was it already out?
So I believe they've designed the site to be outside of the 100-year, the pads.
The pads?
Yeah.
Yeah. So to Councilmember Hume's point, I mean, if someone were to come in adjacent, they could do something similar, and now you'd be faced with another stub off of Bond.
So we're looking at the map right now to see
Okay.
if it's the floodplain. That floodplain may finger down, and that may preclude it from connection.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? No? All right, let's move along, and once you have the answer, you can chime in. At this point, want to declare a public hearing open. Invite the applicant to come on up if they are here. Is the applicant here? Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Scott Montgomery with JBK Real Estate Advisors. I'm here on behalf of the property owner, Frank Mantong, longtime resident of the city of Elk Grove. First of all, I wanted to thank David and Antonio for helping us through the process, along with all other city staff that chimed in and helped us with this project. I think it was a very good collaborative effort by everyone involved and resulted in a 4-0 unanimous vote recommend approval for the project. To answer some of your questions, the property that is where we're developing is actually outside the 200-year floodplain. We're not doing anything to change the grades, anything like that. The property directly to the east is in the 100-year floodplain, and at the, what would be the southwest corner quadrant of that parcel is probably about 10 to 12 feet below street grade at Bond Road. I mean, and it's a large swath of land. For the most part, that property will not be developed in that area without a significant amount of fill. Also, on the east boundary of this property is a creek channel. So, yeah, to stub something through is really not, something that is likely to happen in the future. I mean, I just don't see that being developed. I do have Mike Robertson of Baker Williams, our engineers here, to answer any site-specific technical questions that you might have. He, certainly is very well aware of this property and other properties in the area and what limited our ability to do more on the 7 acres and what we're just doing because of the flood issues. If I'm here to answer any questions, if I'm not aware of any neighborhood concerns or other outside issues, but I'm more than willing to come back and address those if something should come up.
Any questions? No questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Right, at this point, want to open up for public comment. Seeing no members of the public have signed up to speak, want to close public comment. Invite the applicant to come back up if you'd like to say a few more words. If not, then you can waive that. All right, at this point, want to declare public hearing closed. Councilor DeBlair, direction. Yes.
Did you, Antonio, were you able to figure out, to explain to me where the trail would tie into the Laguna Creek Trail?
Yeah, if you can.
Mr. Busel?
Busey.
Kevin Busey, Capital Program Manager. So there's an existing trail just to the east along one of the tributaries to Laguna Creek that's fully built out through that whole subdivision. And then there's also a trail to the west that's fully built out west of Waterman. And this is the missing gap. We went after a SACOG grant to do the undercrossings to the west of here, underneath the bridges. And if we had this piece in place, it would have been a lot easier to get that grant. So it's a really critical component. It's really missing gap in the whole trail, this whole trail segment.
Okay, so to the west is west of Waterman, south of Bond, where it ties into the Laguna Creek Trail that runs all the way over,
Yes, up into
crosses Elk
Camden.
Grove, Florin into Camden.
Correct.
Okay, where does it go to the east?
To the east, it goes through this subdivision all the way to Bradshaw, about to Bradshaw Road.
But that is not currently developed, correct?
It is, everything south of Bond, the trail is fully built to
South
Reg.
of Bond.
Yes. So it crosses here and then goes up along this portion of Elk Grove, up along this portion of Laguna Creek. If I had a map, I could show you.
Yeah, there you go.
Have a bigger. So I'll use my cursor. So the trail ends right about where my cursor is on this map. You can see that. And then it's intended to go up around here, and then it continues. And then there's an undercrossing of Bond, and then the Bond Bridge, and another undercrossing of Waterman. And then it gets over to the other side of Waterman.
So, but it doesn't go anywhere to the north?
There is.
Yes, it does.
It does go to the north. That is the power line corridor. Power line corridor is in pieces as well. There's a power line corridor going north-south, just on the east side of Waterman Road.
But that piece would be to the west of the creek that runs behind this property.
Correct, yes.
So to my point, this particular trail runs from one side of this property around the back of this subdivision and back out the other side of the property.
Correct. In and of itself, it doesn't provide a lot of connectivity. You really need to make those other connections. You need to make the remaining connection to the east, and there's a remaining connection to the west for everything to work.
So in looking at this aerial and in looking at the oak tree removal permit, a lot of the removal of those trees is predicated by installing this trail to nowhere.
I think it's only one tree, but I'm not sure.
No, but there's.
You don't think all those trees right there along that yellow line to the east have to be taken out?
I don't know. We could ask the planner that specific question. But I know it's, this is a missing gap in the overall trails network that you're looking for.
Yeah, but, and I'm not drilling you, Kevin, just so we understand. I don't envision somebody coming from the south side of Bond Road on the one trail, going, hey, let me cross this busy road of Bond Road and go around the back side of this subdivision, and then I can cross back over Bond Road to go continue on the Laguna Creek Trail, or I go down and go up through the power line trail.
Yes. What I would look at is I would look at Elk Grove Unified School District boundaries and determine the school that's to the east. Would residents that live to the west use this trail to get there? To answer that question, which I'd have to go look at. But.
Okay, so now we're dealing with the school district, which is there's Pleasant Grove and Albiani Middle School.
And that trail goes all the way through the subdivision, ends right here. And so I'd have to go look and see if the trail further to the west would provide future connectivity to those residents.
Okay, click down on slide number 5, please. Can we zoom in on just that portion? There we go. The way I'm looking at this trail goes from the west side of this subdivision, around the back of this subdivision, and back out the east side of this subdivision. And so somebody would have to make the conscious decision not to take the shorter path, which is adjacent to Bond Road, point A to point B, and actually go around the back side of this and end up in the same place they would be otherwise. Am I missing something?
There is an undercrossing here that we at some point build near this bridge, and so you wouldn't have to actually. So that would connect to the future. But I get what you're saying, Ames, that you could go the sidewalk or you could go all the way around. It's kind of a circular system, right? But it doesn't provide the overall trail connectivity. So Sierra River, the trail ends at Sierra River right here. And then there's a crossing this way, and then we go up, and then we take the trail.
And the plan is to put an undercrossing under Bond Road there on that west side, adjacent to the creek?
Yeah, under Bond, correct.
Okay.
The master plan right now.
It just seems to me like this is a considerable expense. It results in smaller lot sizes. It results in the removal of at least one tree for what I'm not seeing as a significant benefit, but I'm not going to hold the thing up over the deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other members? Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
So kind of to follow up on that, is the trail land within the 100-year floodplain? Or is that also out of the 200-year floodplain like the rest of the project?
There's a portion at the northeast corner that does dip into the 100-year, but none of the buildable lots do.
on the trail itself, how much of that trail is not, it would be out of the floodplain?
I believe a majority of it is outside the 100-year, except for, if you look at the map that's up right now, just northeast of the north-south oriented cul-de-sac, that little corner by where it's hatched is inside the 100-year.
Because would it be feasible to adjust the lots to the north and put the trail parallel to the street?
To bring the full trail outside of the 100-year?
Well, to bring it down to the street to be a little, like, as mentioned, a little bit more logical.
And when we were looking at the trail design, as Kevin mentioned, there is a north-south trail alignment along the power line corridor, but the trails master plan also shows a second north-south alignment along the creek, which is the proposed landing of that going across the creek is in that hatched area by the 100 years. So that we routed it to accommodate both of those proposed alignments in the master plan.
So it would be made almost like a Y connection then, what you're going to have?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you ever get an answer on the eastern property?
So the eastern property, it does, that boundary between the eastern property and this property does have a culvert that drains underneath Bond Road, so it is within a floodplain area.
Okay, thank you.
Almost the entire parcel is inundated with the floodplain to the east, and a portion of this parcel next to it is inundated as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? All right. I'll entertain a motion.
Introduce and waive the full reading by substitution of title only, an ordinance finding no further environmental review is required pursuant to Section 15183 of the California Environmental Quality Act and approving a rezone from agriculture residential 5-acre minimum AR5 to low density residential RD4 for the Creekside Estate Project, PLNG 18-103.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Next motion.
Motion 2.
Second. Got a motion second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Next item.
That'll take us on to item 9.3, which is a public hearing to consider a resolution updating the user fees for the Elk Grove Aquatic Center.
Good evening, council members. Lana Yoshimura, Community Events Center Manager, District 56. I look forward to an exciting summer, and as we begin that, we are going to look at different fees. As some background, let me pull this up. The Aquatic Center opened in May of last year and is operated by the Cosumnes Community Services District as our partner through an agreement. CSD updates their fees annually. The CSD board adopted their new fee schedule on December 4th of last year. To stay consistent with their operations, staff is recommending some update in our fees. The first proposed change is to increase the rec swim daily drop-in rate. CSD has moved their Wackford rate to $7 for their drop-in rate, partly due to the minimum wage going up, partly due to labor increasing. By moving to $8 an hour, it basically keeps our revenues at par and also reduces the amount of subsidy we take from Laguna Ridge. The other proposed changes are to change our water fitness schedule to a range. Right now, we currently have it set at $5. We're recommending that it go to $5 to $10 per class. This is basically just adding the range of $10 to this fee. Yes.
Just one question,
Yes.
back on the daily fee. Is the only discount for Laguna Ridge residents if it's a season pass?
Correct. So passes and rentals are where Laguna Ridge residents get a break. It's hard to do it on a daily drop-in because you would have to check addresses at the ticket window. I don't know if you've ever been to a rec swim, but basically you have a line of people that are waiting to get in. To have to check addresses would be very difficult and would slow down that line considerably. Laguna Ridge residents do get a 20% discount on any season pass.
Okay.
And we're not recommending any changes in the cost of passes, just daily drop-in rates.
Okay, thank you.
Going back to some of the proposed changes, the aquatics courses, CSD has changed their courses from an hourly fee to a class per class fee. So that's the reflection you see here for certification classes, contract classes, and swim lessons. So currently the fee is $8. We would eliminate that fee, and then we would put a per class fee of $8 to $20 for swim lessons. And this is consistent with CSD. This next change in the aquatic rental for swim meets actually benefits one of our nonprofit partners. Used to be that a half-day meet, the current rate is a half-day meet for 3 to 7 hours is $1,600. We propose moving this half-day rate to 3 to 8 hours at $1,600, so no rate change. We basically are looking to increase the time. The reason for that is that their meets typically end at about 3 p.m. That allows us to host family night swims, so we are not losing any revenue. It helps a nonprofit partner save some money and costs. So this was a request made by one of our nonprofit swim teams. The next change is an increase in part-time staff phase, mostly in establishing a range. The current range is set at $25, which is a straight fee. We're recommending we go to $25 to $32. This is also a minimum wage increase as well as an admin fee that we collect from CSD. This is within their scope, would affect lifeguards, pool managers, and custodians needed for the facility. One of the other things I wanted to highlight before I opened it up for questions is that we are doing lots of great things at the Aquatic Center. I don't know, Jason, if you have that. And I wanted to highlight one of the upcoming classes that we have going.
And you're 11 in just a bit.
So I'm not sure if there's audio associated with this. What you're looking at is called the Aqua Body Strong courses. This is the only class that we know in the region that we are offering at the Elk Grove Aquatic Center. Classes start next March. This would be part of the fitness classes that we're offering there. CSD staff has been trained to be teachers and instructors in these classes. You can do Pilates, yogas. It is an excellent core exercise for residents. And as I said, it is the only one within the region, and we're very excited that we are bringing it to our community. And it's not as easy as it looks. And you're never going to see video of me.
Sorry, we had audio earlier on this one, and it's not picking up on this one, so.
But these are two of the CSD employees that are working as trainers and are part of the staff of CSD that we're grateful for. I don't know. That's okay, Jason.
Uh-oh. Now I'm really messing things up. Should have.
All right. So that concludes my report, council members. I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions? Vice Mayor.
No questions, but just a comment. You know, Lana, that you guys have done a phenomenal job, and that is just a unbelievable facility, and we've been receiving feedback, not just from the residents of Elk Grove, but from kind of Northern California, the quality of that facility, and really proud what the joint effort with you and CSD partners to make that one of our landmark facilities.
Well, I would like to give credit to CSD. They have been a great partner. Their expertise is unparalleled in the aquatics field, and we're certainly trying to bring new and innovative classes and programming to the community. Not only have we introduced the aqua boards, you can also take aqua spin there. I don't know if any of you have ever seen that, but it's basically a spin bike in water. It's fantastic for people who are going through physical therapy or who are looking for strength training. And with the introduction of the senior center at District 56, we're looking forward to increasing membership and participation in those classes. I have had a lot of interest from seniors in our building who are looking forward to the spring when it's a little warmer to get in the water and taking some aqua aerobics classes at our center. So we look forward to a very, very good year.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions? No? I do have a question. Somebody have asked me whether the aquatic center is open year-round.
Yes. So the answer to that is yes. I'm not sure exactly how many people want to do lap swim in January, but it is available to do in the midday Aqua aerobics usually runs about 11 months a year. CSD does take a break during the holidays. They find that participation is not great during the holidays in the beginning of the year as people cycle forward. They have restarted their classes. Swim lessons will start in spring. So we do have year-round usage. We also have swim teams in there almost every day of the week. They are in there from 5:15 in the morning to 7:15 when kids go to school, and then they're back in the water at 3:45.
You
So
know what
there's
the
constant
temperature's
usage.
kept at?
I'm sorry?
Do you know what the temperature's kept at?
Well, we keep the temperature between 78 and 82 per USA swimming guidelines.
Wow, that's
But
really
you still
nice.
have to get out of the pool.
But it's better than getting in the cold pool and getting cold outside.
Yes, the polar bear plunge is not popular with anyone I know.
So if the average Joe wanted to go over to the aquatic center and do a few laps, what time can they show up?
I would have to recheck their schedule. I think it is at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning and runs most of through midday to 2 or 3 when the swim teams come back in, but I would have to verify that. It is on the CSD website.
Okay, so the early morning is for the swim teams, not open to the
I
public.
believe they do have Swim for Fitness early in the morning. I think it starts at like 6 a.m. I would just have to verify that with CSD. There's a lot of information going on.
Yeah, last summer, some people were complaining there wasn't enough time for them, the general public. Do you feel that you've made some adjustments to this summer?
We do, and we continue to make adjustments. The first year has been a tremendous learning year for us at the facility, not only in the physical plant areas, but also how to interact with the facility and time budgeting. I will say that there's a tremendous interest for swim meets at the facility as well, so we are working through some of those. In terms of time allocations, because this facility was built to be a competitive facility. So having 50-meter water makes us extremely attractive to very large meets, and that, of course, cuts down on public time. Some of the things I've been working with CSD on have been just messaging in general, that we look at this as a system. So if our facility is closed, that Wackford and Fox are both available to swim in, to try to get the message out earlier to residents when we're going to have swim meets so that people are aware. I think that was part of the problem in terms of the communication. Secondly, we want the community to understand that this is a competitive facility and what that means, and to invite them to see swim meets. Elk Grove has some really, really tremendous young athletes that are performing well regionally as well as nationally. This is something that really needs to be celebrated. We look at the calendar during a regular week. You probably are getting about 10 to 12 hours of public programming a day. That includes lap swim, aqua aerobics, all of that is encompassed. So when you balance that out, we do feel like we're giving a lot of public programming. It might not just be in rec swim or lap swim. There has been a request for lap swim in the evening. It's difficult to divide up time because of swim meet time, so where do you put that balance? We're still figuring some of that out, but we are making adjustments as we move into summer.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. All right, this point in time, I want to declare public hearing open. Open for public comment, seeing that no members of the public have signed up to speak. I want to close public comment and declare public hearing closed. Council deliberation and direction.
Motion.
Second.
Got a
and,
motion?
I'll just say, hey, we need to have a council aqua body day.
All right, got a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention? All right, next item.
Take us to section 10, our regular agenda action items and recommendations, starting with item 10.1, which is receive the fiscal year 2019-20 mid-year budget report and consider resolution amending the budget and approving the restructured salary structure and a revised annual appropriations limits.
Greetings, Mayor Lee, Vice Mayor Detrick, and fellow council members. My name is Shane Ryan, Budget Manager for the city, and our budget staff is here today to discuss mid-year budget update and also an update on performance measures at mid-year. Displayed in front of you is an overview of the agenda of the presentation. We're going to start off with the progress report on the general fund and then some major non-general funds as well. Then move on to proposed budget amendments from staff, and then conclude with an overview of performance measures at mid-year. So starting with the general fund, start with the revenue side. At mid-year, general fund revenues are currently projected to be greater than the revised budget by nearly $2 million at year end. The current year-end projection for sales tax is over $1 million above the budgeted amount, so the projected sales tax overage is the largest contributor to the nearly $2 million in projected additional revenues by year end. Then looking at the expenditure side of the general fund, the city has expended approximately 49% of the current general fund budget at mid-year. Current trends and activity suggest a projected savings of nearly $2.2 million by year end. Of the $2.2 million total, the current savings in salary and benefits is nearly $1.8 million. And then of the $1.8 million, staff recommends programming $1.3 million of that in current compensation savings toward an accelerated prepayment to the city's PERS unfunded liability. The $1.3 million prepayment is in addition to the $900,000 that was originally budgeted and has already been paid this fiscal year. As the city continues to accelerate prepayments toward its unfunded accrued liability, the growth of future year payments will be constrained. The city will benefit from reduced interest expenditures in the future. So before you is a table of the general fund expenditures broken down by department. The proposed budget, a revised budget column, incorporates staff recommendations mentioned in the prior slide and all other council authorized amendments year to date. The current projection column also incorporates the additional $1.3 million accelerated prepayment to PERS. Then the projected year-end difference column shows that after incorporating the $1.3 million, the remaining projected savings is nearly $900,000. Note that the revised and proposed revised budget columns is about $1.3 million greater than the original budget. Nearly $1 million of the increase is due to council authorized budget amendments during this fiscal year. The remaining amount of the increase is due to reappropriations of prior year unspent budget that was authorized by council via resolution approving the current year budget. Moving away from general fund and into some major non-general funds, starting with revenues from gas tax. So revenues for gas tax and Measure A maintenance funds at mid-year are trending close to budget. For the Senate Bill 1, local streets and roads, revenues are trending slightly below budget. However, the most recent estimates released by the League of California Cities indicate that revenues at year end will equal at least the budgeted amount for the year. So that's good news. Spending for gas tax, local streets and roads, and Measure A maintenance typically trend low for the first half of the fiscal year, as the majority of spending on operations, maintenance, and capital outlay work is expected to occur in the second half of the fiscal year. The affordable housing fee revenue is trending slightly above budget at mid-year. However, total revenues for the fund have already exceeded the budget due to a one-time and anticipated affordable housing loan repayment. Spending for affordable housing fund is on track with budget. And revenues for development services fund are trending close to budget, while spending is trending below budget due to work on some key projects that are expected to happen in the second half of the fiscal year. For roadway fee and CFF funds, revenues are trending close to budget. Spending on capital projects, these funds are also within budget. Revenues for CFD funds are on track as well with the budget. The Laguna Ridge CFD received a reimbursement payment for public right-of-way, pedestrian, and public utility easement for the construction, maintenance, and use of the Bilby Road extension. Similar to CFF funds, spending on capital projects in the CFDs are within budget. Revenues are on track as well for the drainage fund. The drainage fund revenue budget this year includes a loan repayment from the federal grants fund in the amount of $2.3 million based on anticipated reimbursement received for the Intelligence Transportation System project. Staff intends to seek reimbursement for the project expenses later this fiscal year, possibly next fiscal year. Similar to other funds mentioned above, spending on capital projects and drainage is contained within budget. And then for recycling and waste funds, revenue and spending are trending very close to budget. So that concludes the progress on non-general fund funds. And then moving on to proposed amendments from staff, starting with the Public Works Department. Staff recommends an overall increase in budgeted expenditures for Public Works by nearly $900,000. The newest contract with the Cosumnes Community Service District includes the maintenance of Camera Park, a nearly $400,000 annual expense funded by the Laguna Ridge Maintenance Fund. Funding is needed in the amount of $114,000 from gas tax for 20 additional and replacement wayfinding signs within the city due to newly constructed facilities. And $140,000 in additional funding is needed from the Public Works Administration Fund due to higher than anticipated encroachment permits this fiscal year, including those for 38 small cell installations. Rates for the Courtyard Front Parking Lot project have increased since the original estimate was provided. Staff recommends an additional approximately $32,000 in facilities funding due to the updated estimate. Looking at proposed budget amendments from other funds, staff recommends a $1 million expenditure budget increase in the Risk Management Fund to account for unanticipated one-time expenditures. The Risk Management Fund's unreserved fund balance is available and sufficient to fully fund the budget amendment. As a result of transitioning GIS contracted staff to GIS internal staffing, staff recommends reducing budget expenditures in the IT and GIS fund by $100,000. Budgeted revenues for the Community Resilience Plan grant in the amount of $300K was not included in the current year budget. Hence, staff recommends increasing budgeted revenues in the general fund in the strategic planning division by that amount equal to the grant award. That concludes all proposed amendments from staff for budget, and I'd like to invite Nathan Bagwell, Senior Management Budget Analyst, to speak on performance measures at midyear.
Good evening, Mayor Lee, Vice Mayor Dedrick, members of the council. Nathan Bagwell, as Shay mentioned, I have the privilege of serving as your Senior Management and Budget Analyst in the Finance Department. We're going to do a brief look at the performance measures as a mid-year check-in. The performance measures were adopted in accordance with the current fiscal year budget. There are no proposed amendments or revisions to any of the citywide quarterly measures that we have at this time. The overall results at mid-year of the 67 measures that we are tracking citywide, 82% are green, which mean that they meet or exceed their targets. 9% are yellow, which means we consider that on track. It's within 10% of their target. And 9% are red, which we consider to be needing focus. That means that they are below 10% of their current target. And what we're looking at here briefly is something from the staff report. This is looking specifically at quarter number 2. This is for September through December. This is a breakout of each of the measures by city council goal. So you'll notice the goal with the council goal with the highest number of measures associated with it is a high-performing organization, of which 31 of the 36 measures are performing at or above its target. And this is a look at it from a different standpoint of percentages in terms of overall by council goal. And you can see at the bottom for the second quarter, we are at 85%. So there's been a slight uptick overall in the second quarter, 4% on track and 10% needing focus. And then lastly, this is looking at the first 6 months of the fiscal year, from July to the end of December. Of our 67 measures, you can see that 55 are in green, 6 are in yellow, and 6 are in red. Again, just another look at the percentage-wise. This is actually an improvement over last year, where we were at 73% green at this time, 4% yellow, and 23% red. So a shout out to our staff for working hard. If you have any questions about performance measures, I'll be happy to answer them at this time.
Any questions? One question.
Yeah, hi, Nathan, I apologize if you don't have this information at your fingertips, but do you have any idea, or can you give me a hint as to what performance measures are in the red?
Yeah, I actually I have all that information here in front of me. Did you have a specific, did you want to talk about one in particular, like one area, or did you want to know which ones they are?
Sure. Why don't you just give me one of the ones in a high-performing organization, just so I
Okay.
have an idea of what's not.
So
needs
for
improvement.
example, when we're looking at, here we'll just talk about mid-year, since I think that's the one that I've got in front of me here. High-performing organization would be Ascot Grove. We have a goal of answering incoming calls in an average of 5 seconds. For quarter one, it was 9 seconds. There was an improvement to 6.91 with a comment that we are slightly above target. However, we had some staff rotation and transitioning during that quarter, so it is improving steadily.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, if there are no more questions, I'll be happy to, I'd like to invite Shane and Ryan back up to the podium, please. Thank you.
Okay, so before you is a recommendation from staff to adopt a resolution amending the current year budget as requested.
Okay, any other questions? Nope. Thank you. And at this point in time, I want to open for public comment. Seeing that no members of the public signed to speak, I want to close public comment. Councilor Deliberation and direction. Got a
Second.
motion, got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention? Next item.
Great work, Shay. It's very good.
Oh, thank you.
Very good work, yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
That'll take us on to item 10.2, which is a public meeting to receive information regarding renewal of the Elk Grove Tourism Marketing District.
Daryl, is this going to be another hour presentation?
Nope. I knew somebody would ask that.
Hour and a half, right,
It
Daryl?
was 45 minutes last time. Not that we're keeping
It
track.
seemed like an hour.
Well, it's only once a year, Councilman. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the council. I'm Daryl Doan. I'm the city's Economic Development Director. I apologize for being in jeans. I came from the airport for business travel and don't have a suit with me. So I want to quickly run through a short presentation on this item. So the item in front of you tonight is the renewal of the Elk Grove Tourism Marketing District. Quick history and background. Oh, thank you. The current tourism marketing districts, the tourism marketing districts are authorized by state law. The current district in Elk Grove was formed by the city council at the request of hotel owners in 2015. The first year initial term of that district, there's a 5-year initial term of that district, and the current district expires next month, March of 2020. When it was created, it established a 2% surcharge on room night stays at local hotels. That surcharge generates roughly $400,000 per year. It fluctuates based on hotel occupancy. The surcharge is collected by the hotels from guests that stay at the hotel properties. Then those funds are remitted to the city when the hotel makes their transient occupancy tax payment. And then the city takes that 2% minus a small administrative charge, and we send that to Visit Elk Grove. Visit Elk Grove is a private nonprofit corporation formed by the city in 2015 to administer the district. They do that under a contract with you, with us. Visit Elk Grove then uses those surcharge funds to market the district as a visitor destination. These are the current boundaries of the tourism marketing district. This is all of the city of Elk Grove. There's a small sliver there up at the top middle that is in the county, and that is the Fairfield Inn and Suites, who participates in our district. These are the properties within the district. There are 5 totaling, no, I'm sorry, I'm doing bad math. I had very little sleep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 6 totaling 575 rooms. The bottom item there is Town Place Suites by Marriott, right across the freeway here. That is under construction and should be opening Q1 of this year. And then in the right column there are, just to note, there are 2 additional hotels that are going through our permitting process. One was just received last week. It's a Courtyard by Marriott, 85 rooms at Sheldon and 99. And then the second one is Candlewood Suites, 104 rooms at Laguna and 99. So in addition to the 575 rooms and 6 properties, we will potentially have 3 more and an additional 301 rooms. These are our board members, and a few of them are here tonight, and I want to point them out. James Linton, Adriel, I'm going to screw up your name, Adriel, Tecklenburg? You got it. Yes. And who am I missing? Kimberly Albright. It's great that you're here tonight. Appreciate you being here. There's a few members who couldn't make it. They are the board members of Visit Elk Grove. Currently, each hotel has a board seat. And then the city there at the bottom also has a board seat, which is currently vacant. Special shout out to Kimberly Albright, who's been doing this the entire 5 years. And I think her and Patrick Patel of Fairfield Inn and Suites are the only ones who have been serving that long. So that's wonderful. And then I also want to recognize Rachel Brown, who is my employee, but also from time to time has served, actually for quite a bit of time, has served as the president of Visit Elk Grove, filling the city seat, and is currently under a contract with the city, acting as Visit Elk Grove's interim CEO. Key accomplishments over the last 5 years. A strategic plan was prepared fairly early on with a lot of community input and focus groups. The Explore Elk Grove brand and logo was created and disseminated. A branded website and socials were also launched. Visit Elk Grove has produced the Elk Grove Restaurant Week now for 2 years in a row. It grew in the last iteration of that, so that's good. They have been heavy sponsors, which is often a key activity of TMDs. They've sponsored a lot of events like our own Amgen Tour of California in 2017 and 18. They were also the lodging provider for that event. And then they've sponsored multiple other events like the Elk Grove Boo Fest, Amgen, Farm to Fork. They've sponsored the Great Pumpkin Festival, a number of other things. And they also, in the last year, opened an office space. And they've hired employees from time to time. They've also fired employees from time to time. Quickly, the district renewal process. So on January 8th, this council approved resolutions of intent to renew the district and a resolution asking for the consent of the county because a portion of our district is in the county. On January 9th, a legally required notice was sent out to all of the hotel owners, which opened a notice period by which any owners could protest renewal of the district. That is unlikely because those same owners petitioned us to renew the district. And we have so far not received any protests. That notice period closes February 23rd. On January 28th, the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors gave their consent to including the county hotel in our district. Tonight, we are having a public meeting, which is required under state law. On February 26th, we plan to bring back to you a final public hearing on this item. So at that hearing, just quickly, if written protests from 50% of the owners are received, we're done. No further proceedings will take place. Incidentally, we've received petitions from 4 of the 6 properties totaling 81%, so that's very good. After that public hearing, the city council can then, if they choose, they can renew the district by adopting a resolution. At that time, you can revise, change, or reduce or modify the assessment, but you can only do that in a downward direction. And if approved, the renewed district would commence on April 1st, moments after the current district expires. And then, as I said earlier, Visit Elk Grove manages the district at our request via a contract. So if the district is renewed on February 26th, we will come back to you with a new contract, probably on March 25th. And then just quickly, the current district, as I said, the annual budget is around $400,000. It goes up, it goes down. The current assessment is 2% in the city limits. The county property pays 1%. The current district has a 5-year term. The proposed new district, so the hotel owners petitioned us to reform the district, and in so doing, they've asked us to make some changes. The new district, the estimated annual budget is approximately $675,000. That includes the new Town Place Suites property, but it does not include Candlewood Suites or Courtyard by Marriott. So in reality, if those projects get built sometime in the next renewal period, that budget could go up to $1 million a year, plus or minus. The hoteliers are asking you to raise the assessment from 2% to 3%, which staff does not object to. It would remain at 1% in the county. They've also asked that instead of 5 years, that the new term be 7 years. That made us think about how competitive is that 3% rate, both throughout the state and in the region. If we were to go that high, we don't want to be the highest, but we want to be competitive. You can see there in these charts, there are a number of there are approximately 100 of these tourism marketing districts in the state. These are all that have higher surcharges than 2%. So there's quite a few of them. We would certainly be in the 70th percentile. And then we looked at where we would rank in the region. And you can see that we would be competitive. Folsom is at 4%, Lodi's at 5%, Rancho has a weird dollar per night, Sacramento at 4%, Stockton 4%, Vacaville 3%. And then if you combine the transit occupancy tax, remember the surcharge is in addition to that tax, where would that put us? It would put us at 15%. How does that compare to the region? You can see that while some districts in the region most actually have higher assessment rates than we do, many have much lower TOT rates than we do. But if you combine them, we would be second highest to Sacramento. Anecdotally, I feel like we will still be competitive in that situation. In fact, I think all these jurisdictions go up to 20%, and hotel guests probably wouldn't bat an eye. That is the end of my presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions? Question?
Daryl, is the TOT rate set by the county? Who sets that rate?
TOT rate is set by Brad. Who's going to answer that question?
The city's transient occupancy tax rate is set by the city ordinance.
By city ordinance? So it's just coincidental that the cities within the county, well, I guess Folsom was in there too, and they had a lower rate. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? No? All right.
All right. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thanks, Daryl.
Thank you. At this point, I want to open for public comment. Seeing no members of the public sign up to speak. Additional deliberation and direction. Members? We good? Receiving file?
Yep.
Good? All right. Thank you. Let's move to the next item.
That'll take us on to item 10.3, which is to receive a status update on the District 56 Nature Area Project. And a direction continuing with the project through design and construction phases.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. John Griffin, Senior Engineer in the Public Works Department. Here tonight to give a brief project overview and update for the District 56 Nature Area Project. Tonight, I'll be giving a brief discussion on the location of the project, purpose and need, our timeline, talk about some items that we have added, refined, and deferred since we last presented the project to you, talk about our budget comparison, where we were then versus where we're at now, identify our funding plan, talk about some phasing options, and then we'll conclude with recommendation and questions. The nature area is located at District 56. The bounds of the project are shown highlighted in blue. The purpose and need of the project, again, the intent is to complete the District 56 campus, specifically the south area that is located south of the Aquatic Center. And consistent with previous guidance and direction, the intent is to keep the open space feel with the more program structured facilities on the north end and the open space passive areas in the south, with the focus on the center of the facility, which is our pond. To go through a few of the major activities that we have conducted over the past couple years, there's been a total of 7 public meetings, both here at City Council, a number of community workshops, Arts Commission, Trails Committee, to receive feedback from the public. And there's been very good turnout at those meetings, and there's been a lot of good input received. Along with that, we have moved forward with design of the project starting in January of 2019. We issued the RFP for design services, and then in March, we awarded a contract to Foothill Associates. Over the last 6-7 months of last year, we commenced on a very rigorous activity and effort on value engineering and project refinement. And we did not only rely on our consultant team, but we relied on the input from our other internal and external partners. One of those is the Cosumnes CSD. We asked them for input on park programming and where facilities should be located. They provided some valuable comments, which I'll touch on later. We also asked for input from our District 56 operations team on facilities that they see they need based on recent opening of the Aquatic Center and Community Center. And then we also involved our construction management team to give us input and guidance on the plans to make sure we had a good set of robust plans. So from that feedback and rigorous value engineering and project refinement, I'd like to touch on a few of the items that we have added, we've refined and deferred since our last presentation here. again, talking about the center of the facility, our pond, that is the main focus of the park. And one of the things that we heard from the public and from our operations staff is that we want to ensure we have a pond that everybody wants to walk around and visit, does not produce odors, and is not a detriment to the neighborhood. So in discussions with the design team, one of the things that we're recommending is to deepen the pond. Previously, it was a much shallower pond. We're going to go much deeper to provide for better water quality and circulation. We're also recommending that we divide the Sedley Pond, the Sedley Island into 2 smaller islands, again, for better water quality and circulation. A couple other major changes, again, from the CSD, they had suggested we relocate the group shade structure. It was proposed kind of out on its own on the far easterly edge of the Great Lawn, and they suggested that we relocate it closer to all the activities and the facilities that are located more on the westerly edge of the Great Lawn, near the group play area and the pond. And one of those very valuable insights that has made our project better. A couple of things that we want to touch on based on input from from the District 56 team. We are recommending to add parking area. The parking areas north of the existing parking lot along Bighorn and the existing parking lot on the south of the entrance on Civic Center Drive, we're recommending that those areas be expanded for full paved parking lots with striping and lights. We're proposing to add those or include those as additive alternates in our bid documents, just in case those are a bit higher than we anticipate in costs. One of the other items that we're adding to the project, again, recommendation by our District 56 team members, is to add sod and irrigation to the future library and cultural arts area. That area is several years away from being programmed. So in that short term, we want to make sure we have an area that is presentable and usable by the public. There's a couple other items that our design team and our stakeholders identified as ways we could reduce some costs. And a couple of those items that we have decided to incorporate in the plans are reducing our plant sizes where feasible, but still meeting the intent and the vision of the project. We've removed a ped bridge and replaced it with a culvert that is along the westerly edge where the pond drains out into Franklin Creek. And then we're also proposing as an additive alternate to replace the sod of the Great Lawn with seed. Again, if we get a favorable bid, we will recommend that we include that in our construction project. So that kind of gives a flavor of the changes that we have looked at incorporating into the project based on input from our team members. When we last presented the project, we had a project estimate total of roughly $17.7 million. What we heard loud and clear was to come back and reevaluate the project and also see if there's ways where we can shave costs. Glad to report back that even by incorporating the 2 new parking lots and adding the grass and the irrigation at the future cultural arts area, we've been able to shave what we'd estimate to be roughly $1.8 million off of the overall project cost. This table here identifies what our proposed funding plan for the project is. Since we last were here, we can now state that we have executed a grant agreement with the state for $3 million for the Land and Water Conservation Fund. And we've identified a couple other major funding sources, Laguna Ridge CFD, and also a future bond issuance where the service will be funded from the Laguna Ridge Parks Fund. And again, the funding plan is for roughly $15.8 million. Last thing to touch on is we were asked to identify what items could we phase to a next project should we desire to cut back on the overall project cost. So we've identified a total of 12 components. The list here is ranked in a recommended priority should we remove any components. However, I would like to say that in the public hearings, in the public meetings, a number of these components were identified as major features that the public is very supportive of. So while we're here presenting options, it was very clear to us from our operations staff and as well as the public that a lot of these components are items that they would like to see in the facility. And again, to highlight a couple of the items that are underlined, those are the additive alternates, the sodding, the Great Lawn, as well as paving and lights for the parking lots. A couple other items that could be deferred but are not recommended to be deferred are the 2 shade shelters, both the group shade shelter and the picnic overlook shelter. If we want to, we could defer the landscaping and irrigation for the library and cultural arts area. We could defer a fitness court. We could defer the improvements to the pond. Could defer the restroom, or we could defer the play area. These 12 items, again, fairly substantial. They're roughly $4.4 million in project cost total, and this is a fully loaded cost, and it does reflect an economy of scale, presuming that we construct all of these components as one project. So with that, this concludes our presentation. Our recommendation is that we receive direction to move forward with the project as one full phase, not removing any of these phasing options that we have presented tonight, but include all those in there, and to move forward to present the project for bid in March and to come back to award in May, along with returning for direction on issuing bonds to also be a partial funding for the project.
Okay.
So with that, that concludes our presentation and open to any questions.
Excellent. Any questions? No questions? Go ahead, council member.
Which one did you signal?
Either one.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, John. Quick question for you. On the staff report, you call out that the Great Lawn area was to be seeded rather than sodded, and that there was savings associated with that.
Yes.
And then in reading the area for the future library, it says other changes include installing sod and irrigation at the library and cultural arts. Was that a typo, or did you intend to sod that lawn rather than seed it?
That area is currently proposed to be sodded.
And why wouldn't we want to achieve the savings of seeding it there as well?
You could. We very well could.
But there's no particular reason why you chose to proceed with sod, even though it's cheaper to do the seeding?
No, not
Okay.
necessarily. There's obviously a benefit if we have sod at both locations. We'll receive, a better price.
Okay. And then my second question is, if we were to move forward with doing irrigation and sodding or seeding of that land, obviously the grass area is where the future building, whatever that is, would sit. How much of that $250,000 that you showed as potential phasing cost is throwaway that wouldn't be recaptured when whatever is ultimately developed there?
Based on approximate percent of area, I think the building footprint, I want to say, is 50, 60, 70% of that. So if we just went on a straight percentage, probably in the range of $150,000, $175,000. Again, we anticipate the Library Cultural Arts Center is a number of years away.
Sure.
And that area being right at the front and center of the main entrance to the Avenue of the Arts and very visible to the public. We recognize that, yes, there will be some throwaway costs, but being a number of years, we wanted to make sure that that area was fully usable and presentable. And then that's an area that also we could use. Again, as Lana mentioned earlier, there's a lot of competitive swim events. That's another area where families could congregate when their children are not actually in the middle of swimming. That's part of the intent of the Great Lawn too, is that there's a lot of overflow area. So we recognize that there's going to be a need for a lot of area like that. And yes, it will be a throwaway, unfortunately, when we go to build the library, but that's unfortunately a number of years away.
Okay. I'd like to have the council discuss that when it comes back to deliberation, because those throwaway costs are not insignificant, and I think there might be, in my opinion, a psychological advantage to leaving that land unfinished so that it serves as a visual reminder that there's more to be done, and that's where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Okay, Councilmember Sun.
Yeah. Hey, John, thanks for the presentation. Wanted to, I think the pond area is going to be an important feature, and I think water qualities and maintaining that water quality is going to be important. So I wanted to tease out a little bit more how deep are you guys going to go to prevent growth of algae? And what about, runoff from, fertilizer from the lawn area going into there, that kind of thing, circulation?
The, to answer the first question, we are proposing to go as deep as 12 feet.
Okay.
In certain areas, so it's going to be staggered, layered, and that's all part of the water turnover and circulation. That's the engineers have determined that's the best methodology to utilize. So the earthwork quantities have gone up significantly.
Okay.
But in their estimation, that's the best approach, and that's also part of the reason why we've changed from 3 islands to 4. The southerly island was one large island with kind of a low spot in the middle. That low spot's been removed, again, to aid in circulation.
Okay.
So the second question, as far as water quality, the runoff from the northern area of District 56 will go into a bioretention swale and more of a filtered area before it drains to the pond. So there is a design feature where that will be taken into account.
And all around it, because on the southern edge as well, are you?
This is more primarily from the aquatics area,
Yeah.
the community center, and the Great Lawn. You're correct. There will be some drainage from the south that will drain into the pond. But again, all the area that's in the south is intended to be passive. There's going to be very little need for fertilizers and applications. That's really going to be more on the program to heavier north that will go into the bioretention swale.
Got it. Okay. And then do you intend to use chemicals for the pond or more all natural?
We are hoping to just go natural. Okay. We are installing some of the facilities there just in case we will need to apply some type of chemical additive in the future. But at this time, the plan is let's try it. Let's see if what the engineers estimate and engineers believe will function properly before we go to that next step of adding chemicals.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Just a quick question. How many gallons is the pond?
The well pump is 250, I want to say about 250 gallons a minute. So it's a fairly, technically there's 2 pumps. So we have a well pump that will feed the pond, and then we have a couple of recirculation pumps that will aid in the recirculation of the water that's in the pond itself.
I see. So in total, all the ponds, how many gallons? Roughly, it doesn't have to be exact.
Of the pumps or of the pond?
Of the ponds.
One pond, top of my head, I'd have to go back and research and get back to you on the total quantity.
Okay. Yeah, just curious. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
At this point in time, I want to open for public comments. Seeing that no members of the public have signed up to speak, I want to close public comment. Additional deliberation and direction. Councilman Hume?
Yeah, so just to come back to that, the very north portion where the future library, children's museum, whatever it's determined that will go there, goes there. I can appreciate staff's point about making it look nice in the interim, but I also think there's something of holding it out there so that the public is aware that there's future phases coming, and that's where the future phase will go. I also just, something in the sort of the frugal nature of me, I don't like throwaway costs, and so the idea that we'd be investing, I mean, granted, I realize that $100,000 or $150,000 in an overall $15 million project isn't necessarily a lot in that scope or scale, but so I'd just be interested in council's thoughts on that. But at the very least, if we're going to realize savings by seeding the Great Lawn, I would say that we realize those same savings on seeding that area. But generally, I would be in favor of not putting the turf in there.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I don't recall what on the opposite side of where the proposed grass that we're talking about right now, what is it? Is that lawn in that area?
It looks like it's proposed to be a gravel parking area.
So
the gray area that's just below
the 2 gray areas are the future parking lots. We're expanding the parking lots, the existing parking lots. The one that is accessed and entered off of Bighorn.
So what are you going to do in the interim? You said it's a future parking lot. What are you
Oh,
gonna?
right now, it's currently, it's undeveloped. It's bare dirt and it's striped for overflow.
Just to answer your question, it's not a future parking lot. This project would build that parking lot.
Yes.
Okay. So the grass area we're talking about would be the only undeveloped area that we have out there in that segment.
Correct. If we did not move forward with sod or seed of the future museum and future cultural arts area, that would be the one undeveloped area on District 56.
Yeah, I'd agree with going with, looking at going with seed to drive the cost down if it's significant enough. I know that sometimes there's more labor intensive after it's installed with seed versus sod. So in the total picture, what that cost differential would be.
Yeah, we can easily amend our bid documents to reflect that as an additive alternate and also to have sod, have seed as our base bid and sod as the additive alternate.
Refresh my memory from your slide. What's the cost differential typically?
I want to say, where the Great Lawn was, the burden price was roughly $350,000. And so if we're looking at just an acreage estimate, that's probably 30%, so maybe $100,000, give or take.
For both projects?
No, if we were to go to seed versus sod for the library area, the net difference might be, the net savings might be $100,000.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councilmember?
I understand Councilmember Hume's point. The only concern I have, though, is the longevity of that. How long is it going to be vacant? And are we missing out on an opportunity for our residents to actually enjoy that area? And if, during the winter time, if it's just seed, it rains, it gets muddy. It's right there on the corner, so everybody's going to see it. I mean, I was just saying, Councilmember Hume, that I see your point. I'm just wondering how long it's going to be vacant and whether we miss out on the community being able to utilize that area, and if it starts raining and how ugly it starts to get, and it's just right there, visible right there on the corner.
What is that? Do you know off the top of your head what the total cost for the entire District 56 will be when it's with what's been done so far and this proposal? Is that close to 100 million?
Yeah, roughly there, I would say, 85, 90, 95, 100 million in that ballpark.
So I mean, it's not that it's insignificant, but in the scope, it's significant.
I mean, anecdotally, if it may help, the Library and Cultural Arts Center, that is not programmed in our 5-year CIP. So if that were added, just for discussion, if that were added next year in our CIP for 5 years out, that would just be to initiate the schematic design. So best case scenario, we're looking at 7 to 10 years before we had something out on the, where the library is anyways. So if we were to, we can definitely add that in the bid documents, but that was part of our thought process, is knowing that it's not in the CIP. We're a number of years out from having a facility out there.
Yeah, I think during that time, I mean, I think I'd rather have a nice area for folks to enjoy. If it's that, we could certainly put a sign out there, future, with the concept, future
Yeah, I
library.
was just going to suggest that might be able to accomplish what Councilmember Hume was suggesting.
Yeah.
Coming soon, or
Right.
Working on it, or there's not enough money, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Be careful on coming soon. We've
Right.
had a lot of
Yeah,
projects
no,
that
I've
said
seen that.
coming
I've seen
soon.
that. Yeah.
Not enough money is probably a better message.
Right. But I hear what you're saying. I mean, it's real estate, curbside appearance. It's unused, and we're talking about 7 years away. I just feel bad that there'd be a patch of dirt.
And it's the only thing that's left incomplete.
How big is that piece?
Is it an acre? Acre and a half, 2 acres. I can.
It seems
some of it,
significant
yes.
enough when we're out there, right? I mean, it's large enough. But Bob, you had a comment?
Just maybe a little information. So we could bid this, and with an add alternate of doing sod and seed, and when we bring it back, we'll know exactly what the difference is in cost. And you can make a a decision at that time on whether you think it's worth the additional cost or not. It all depends on the bids. Right now, we're giving you some estimates, but the reality is we can know based on the bids and alternates and bring it back, and the council can decide at that time.
I like the compromise, yeah. Okay, anything else?
No rush, yeah.
No? Okay.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you much. Received and filed. All right, next item.
Item 10.4, which is to consider appointment of one voting member to the Planning Commission. As we open up the meeting this evening, Commissioner Kevin Spies stepped down from his seat in December. Recruitment was authorized and opened up for the one vacant seat on the Planning Commission. We received 15 applications at the point of the deadline. I did receive there was a green sheet memo that was distributed, and that had 2 of the applicants who had withdrawn their applications over the course of the weekend. So we have a set of 13, and I'm available for any questions. But I do believe we have numerous people signed up to speak on this item.
Okay, excellent. First up to bat is Mr. Waldo Herrera. Following Waldo is Tony Lin.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. My name is Waldo Herrera. I'm currently one of the applicants for the vacancy for the Planning Commission. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to Mayor Lee, Vice Mayor Detrick, Council Members Hume and Suen. I know your schedules are extremely busy, and so I appreciate the time that you took to meet with me or speak with me over the phone. So I am greatly appreciated about that. I want to have a further understanding of what council was looking for in the next commissioner, and I wanted to understand the process a little bit better. Next, I also want to say thank you to the entire Planning Commission, including past Commissioner Kevin Spies. Each of them took the time to either meet with me or speak with me. The goal was for me was to better understand the time commitment associated with that position, and also I asked what they were looking for in the next commissioner, and so I greatly appreciate their time. City staff, Christopher is not here, but thank you, Christopher, for the time. I know his schedule is extremely busy also, so I thank everybody that took the time to meet and speak with me. In front of you, you have my application, a statement of information, talks about my construction background, my electrical background, my real estate background, understanding property rights. A few things that are not in the statement of information that I would like to share about myself and my family. I was born in Guatemala, came to the United States at the age of 10, later through the amnesty program naturalized, and then later became a U.S. citizen. My wife is also, she is from El Salvador, and she's a U.S. citizen. We currently own 3 small businesses here in Elk Grove. We own our commercial location where we run our businesses from, and we're extremely grateful. We're living the American dream. For me, I'm at a point in my career where I have an opportunity to give back to Elk Grove. Elk Grove has been a city that has embraced my family, has embraced our businesses, and I'm excited for the opportunity. In my current occupation, I am a real estate broker. I'm helping families obtain their piece of the American dream through home ownership. And I consider myself an ambassador to Elk Grove as I encourage families to move to Elk Grove. With that said, thank you very much for your time. I'm excited for the opportunity, and I'm available if you have any questions for me.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions?
You know what, I apologize. I know you sent me an email, and the time just went by so quick. So thank you so much for being here and for speaking. I apologize we didn't get a chance to meet and talk, but I know I've seen you in the community, so thank you for your work in the community.
And I understood. I mean, you guys are extremely busy, probably more busier than I am, so I absolutely understand that.
Okay, any other questions? I do have a couple questions. First question I have is, I see your construction experience. Can you highlight any planning experience you may have?
So as we're part of the construction company, we went and visited sites, and we helped the builder either look at how to develop some of the homes. That was probably my extent. We looked at the blueprints and so forth, not at the planning like we do here, but definitely we were part of the conversation of how to develop the area and the types of home they should build in that area.
Okay. And the second question is, the way we have it currently set up is a commissioner is appointed, and essentially the commissioner stays on the commission until he or she resigns or is removed by an act of impeachment by one of the council members. How do you feel about the lifetime appointment?
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the question. You know, I hope that I am in this position, hopefully maybe 6 to 8 years. Hopefully I will accomplish what I wanted to accomplish, which is part of the development and planning of this of the city of Elk Grove. I don't know what the future holds. I guess for me it would be a conversation that I would have at whoever the mayor is at that time and see if I'm still needed in the position. And if they tell me no, then I would resign. But I truly feel that, I mean, there's a lot of knowledge that's gained with the longer you are in a seat. But I also feel that with the different organizations that I've been with, different committees, there should be an influx of new thoughts, new ideas, new perspectives. So that would be my my solution for that in regards to just having a conversation with the mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor.
Oh, one more question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I was just thinking, when you mentioned you spoke with the other commissioners, what did you find out, and how do you see yourself contributing?
So I spoke with the chair. She said that she liked my construction background, my code, knowledge of code, and so forth. They just all wished me good luck. They saw my past experience. They thought it would be useful. I think the chair was the one that was more upfront to saying that she appreciates my background in construction, electrical, and just overall code acknowledgement.
I'm sorry, I mean, what did you garner from the conversations, and how do you see yourself contributing if you were appointed?
You know, I hope that I can bring my experience, my past experience to the table. I'm definitely out in the community. I hear feedback from the families that I bring to Elk Grove, and hopefully if I can have an opportunity to influence the way Elk Grove is developed just from the ears and just from the feedback that I get from the people that I bring to Elk Grove, hopefully that I can contribute in that direction.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next speaker is Tony Lin. Following Tony is Hollis Erb.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. My name is Tony Lin. I'm here looking to be appointed as commissioner in Elk Grove City Planning Commissioner. My family and I have resided in the city of Elk Grove for the last 23 years. And I plan to stay here for the rest of my life. I have been working well as a public servant and a volunteer for a long time. I have made this decision and to volunteer the city based on my experience in my life and in this city. I'm a businessman and investor for the last 20 years. Also, I'm a local and state community event organizer. Work with the local and state elected officer and the community leaders. I'm a part of the committees from the organization called APAPA, working directly with the governor and his staff on the political appointment committee and California China trade committees. Through our political appointment committee, we help the Asian Pacific Islander to understand the processing of the governor's appointment position. On the California China Trade Committee, I provide input, advice, and resource to the governor's California China Trade in policy and programs as needed or requested by the governor's office. I'm also a special project director from the organization called APAPA. My job is to secure the funding resource for the national organization, assist with the relationship building with the local and state elected official and the community leaders, serve as advisor on the business enterprise to the CEO of the organization. For my 20 years of business experience, I do have the expertise of being the planning commissioner. But what I bring to the table, not just the expertise, but my diversified background, I hope that can help to consider as the candidate that you are looking for. Thank you so much for the opportunity provided, and thank you, friends, to support me tonight. And any questions?
Thank you, Tony. I do have a couple questions, but I'm going to yield to any members who want to ask questions. Go ahead.
Not a question. I just want to apologize that we weren't able to connect. I did appreciate you reaching out via email, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to get back to you.
Understand that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Swan.
Yeah, Tony, thanks for being here also. Just wondering what you see Elk Grove, the direction Elk Grove's going, and what you'd want to contribute to the commission. Do you have any vision or anything that you'd want to see through while you're up here?
I'm a 2 restaurant owner for the last 20 years, one in Santa Rosa and one in the Sacramento. And I can see the painful of the restaurant business owner and the local community business. And from this vision, I can help with the business owner to develop and for the economy, for the city planning. And I do have the planning experience for as a special event organizer. And I see the vision of the business and hope that I can build the Elk Grove community has a more healthy business. And I love this city. I've been living in this city for the 23 years. Like what I say, I will plan to stay here for the rest of my life. I would like to be part of the city, to build the city for my lovely kids and for future citizens.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay. I know that you highlighted the various businesses that you've owned. I would imagine that there was some planning involved in that. Could you highlight some of your planning experience in the process of building businesses?
For the last 2 restaurants I've been doing is a general manager and the CEO of the restaurant. And I built the restaurant from the scratch to the operation, and I manage and operate with the my staff, manager and staff. And also I owned my import-export business and selling the products on the all the major website, Amazon, Wayfair, Walmart.com. And every day we have to plan to work with the marketing and the inventory. And also, as the I work with the nonprofit organization as the event planner organizer. We plan the whole project for 3 months ahead of the event. And as well, you can see, I've been working with the I've been involving with all the program and events that APAPA has.
Okay. And I know that you and I met, and you tried to meet with Councilmember Hume. Did you try to meet with the entire City Council or
Yes.
Planning Commissioner?
I sent the email to the whole entire council. I think Steve replied my email and tried to mentor me to sign up for the public comments, and I listen and do the preparing because you tell me to do it. Thank you.
And my third and last question is the same one that I asked Mr. Herrera. How do you feel about the appointment, lifetime appointment, you being on the commission?
Yeah, I would love to do that because I seen the city of Elk Grove is my home, and I plan to stay here for the rest of my life. And I would like to build a good city for my lovely kids, for his next generation too. And that I would like to stay here, and I would like to be the lifetime members of the City Planning Commissioner.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Tony. And appreciate it. Our next speaker is Hollis Erb. Following Hollis is CC Yin.
Thank you, Mayor Lee,
Hi, Hollis.
Vice Mayor, and council people. My name is Hollis Erb, and I am an applicant for the Planning Commission vacancy. I have this to offer you. I am a reasonably recent resident, but I came here as a born Californian. As soon as I retired, I came to the city in which my youngest sister and her family had well established themselves, in which I had visited many times. And I've been here now for 4.5 years. What I offer you specifically is the week that the moving van came to my former home was the last meeting I attended of the Planning Commission after a 9-year stint doing that work in my former residence. I bring you 9 years of experience as a planning commissioner in another municipality. Yes, codes change, and yet the circumstances don't really change, and the commitment to the responsibility and the ethics of doing the job don't change. I don't expect them to change here. In addition, the entire time I have been here, except for a couple months where I did some knee surgery, or someone did some knee surgery on me, I have been attending the Planning Commission meetings. I have watched what the new developments are. I read the applications. I go out and I visit the areas as a means of learning my new city and seeing what the issues are. I'm still surprised at some of the issues that arise, but that's the whole point of being a planning commissioner. It's a multiple person group who have to listen to staff and to the public and to the applicant, because not a single person can figure out everything. That's why you need multiple people. But I have been trying as the unanointed civilian to do the best I can to prepare myself for this opportunity. I know the personnel, I have been learning parts of the city, I've been watching the procedures, I have been watching what seem to be the sticking points and the problems in different neighborhoods. And I would love to do this. I have what I think is still an agile mind. I have done a lot of public service throughout my career. I have been trusted at a community level, a university level, a national level, and an international level on a variety of committees and boards and panels. I've been held to positions of responsibility and sometimes of leadership. Now I'm retired. I'm here. I've come back home. I have invested heavily in my home. This is where I want to stay. Merely, as long as I can do the job and I'm doing a good job at it, I would like to continue in the appointment. So thank you very much for listening and considering me.
Excellent, thank you. Are there any questions? Members, go ahead, Councilman.
Hollis, I just want to congratulate you on your tenacity. Hopefully third time's a charm for you here. But even beyond that, I heard from many of the planning commissioners about your dedication of coming to the meetings, and some of them were embarrassed that you maybe have a better attendance record than they do. And so I just appreciate that you have dedicated yourself with the hopes of being able to do something that you're so obviously passionate about. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor.
Okay, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, Hollis, thank you for communicating with me, and
Yes.
it's great to see you again, and you've definitely got high energy, experience without question, and the information that I've received from at least over half the Planning Commission was you were definitely in the top 3 of their recommendations.
Thank you. I really appreciate hearing that from you, and I appreciate the fact that either last year or this year or both, I have had the opportunity to interact with each of you about my candidacy. Please use me. Thank you.
Councilmember Suen, hang on one second. Come on back, yeah.
So I also want to
Darren.
no, it's okay. I also want to recognize your constant attendance to the meetings. And I want to thank you for your service on my homeowners association. I know you've been a great addition there. I'm just curious about your, and you may have gone over this before last time, but it's been a while, your commission experience in Ithaca, how you see the difference between our communities and where you might think you would improve that here, or what you'd like to bring here from that experience.
What I bring from that experience is a knowledge of how to read a package, when to read a package, which is the answer is as early as you possibly can in case you need to get more information. And how to obey the ethical responsibilities involving it. Everything from knowing when to recuse myself to confidentiality about what the little intricacies were, to being fully prepared and still coming to a meeting with an open mind, because you never can tell what one additional voice is going to tell you that and then will impact on it. I bring that as probably my greatest skill set for you. Topographies and climate change from one community to another. It doesn't matter. There's still the rules of physics govern sound travel, and water goes downhill generally, and on and on and on. And there's always traffic, and there's always traffic, and there's always noise, and there's always traffic. And I know how to read those reports. And I am just discovered I was passionate about this job when I was first appointed, well, when I first started attending the planning meetings back there, and then got appointed. And I really like doing it. I enjoy doing it. I look forward to helping to assure that my city's future is a good one. And generally speaking, that means everything from keeping it out of trouble by paying attention to code and precedent and level playing fields, to taking all the opportunities I can where we have discretion to do what seems best in the long run. I don't know if that answered your question, but
Yeah, thank you.
thank
I
you
just
for
wanted
letting
your
me
perspective.
speechify.
What's that?
Thank you for letting me speechify.
Oh,
So Hollis,
you.
I have a question. How large was the community that you were serving as a commissioner?
With or without students. I served with the town of Ithaca, New York, which is the seat of Cornell University. It also has Ithaca College, and the town and the other community in it, well, the town itself is 20 to 40,000 people at any given time of year, and the city is that also. And I mention the city because when the town was finished with its general plan, I was the town's representative to the city's general plan to represent town interest and that sort of thing. So overall, the community where you didn't know where the boundaries ended was more like 70 or 80,000 people with all the students around. It's much smaller than here.
Okay.
Still growing and always new developments, and the big behemoths still being the university and the college, and still we paid attention to everything.
And you've reached out to the commissioners as well as council members?
I only reached out to one of the commissioners specifically to talk about my candidacy this time, but I feel like I have interacted with almost all of them at some point anyway, because I'm there most of the time.
And
I
the
bribe them
entire
with-
city council?
I have reached out to every member of the city council, and I have spoken to all of you either this time or last time or both.
Okay. And of course, the third question, how do you feel about lifetime appointments?
Well, as long as I can keep doing the job and it feels like I'm doing a good job when I'm doing it and no one's telling me I'm not, I'd be happy to do it as long as I can. On the other hand, some turnover is always good. That's one of the reasons I chose to retire when I did. Get some turnover on the faculty.
And what would you say a good rule of thumb would be? Every 6 years, every 4 years, every 2 years?
Oh, I would hope for much more than that, to serve you and really get into the rhythm and help carry forward with an institutional memory. Knowledge of precedent, knowledge of projects. The one that we saw 3 years ago that's only now coming online, and the comments that have been made and argued over for this general plan that is now going forward finally, and on and on.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate it. CC Yen and then Jaspreet Singh.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. I'm very proud to be here to support Tony Lin for the appointment of the Commissioner of Greece City. And I come here that I don't live here, but I have many friends and relatives and business friends live in the city for a long time. I was involved heavily with the Asian Sports Center and the first McDonald's built here. And as Tony has been great volunteer for the community, serving, of course, for the foundation that I found and chair as a PAPA, API Public Affairs Association. The mission is to encourage API Americans actively engaged in serving the public, like you people, folks. And Tony is maybe not experienced, not expert in the city planning. However, he does offer a great passion and love to the community, and he wants to stay here to continue to be part of this great city and build a city with his community involvement and the business and volunteerism in 20-some years. I know Tony when he was a young man. He was a young man. I was a middle-aged guy 27 years ago, and he was the waiter in the restaurant I went for lunch and dinner. From there, I know him that he wanted to move to Elk Grove. That's about 27 years ago. And of course, he come here. He loved the place. Of course, in that process, as got to know him, he has done so much volunteer work. So I'm here asking your support, vote for Tony. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yen. Next speaker is Jaspreet Singh. Following Jaspreet is Ram. And if, Ram, you're going to have to correct me if I butcher your last name. Tanapadian.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, good evening, and thank you for your time. I know by Councilmember Hume's previous question, so this is in fact, my first appearance. I always wanted to be on TV, never pictured it would be this way, but happy to be here, right? So being my first time, I'll provide a quick introduction. My name is Jaspreet Singh. By profession, I'm a licensed certified public accountant and also a licensed real estate broker. I've been a licensed real estate broker since about 2006, right? So before you here today, and also by the submission of my application, I've expressed my interest for the open Elk Grove Planning Commission position. To date, I've been having an opportunity to connect with each one of you, whether by email or phone call or in person. I've also connected with current and previous planning commissioners to learn more about the opportunity, the responsibilities, duties, time and commitment. And in terms of what I've learned, I see myself to be a good fit for the position that's available. I'm confident in my abilities to meet and also exceed the expectations that are provided in the role of the planning commissioner. I've had a high track record of success, whether while as a student and graduating as valedictorian from my college of 2 graduating classes, whether it's as a student athlete through wrestling or basketball or football, or within my profession as a CPA, right? I think before you have my resume in terms of my work experience and the type of companies I've serviced. So I think to your question, Councilmember Darren, in terms of what I bring to the table, one, I think currently, I think what's important is diversity, right? So Councilmember Stephanie, I think in your council alone, we have about 3,000 Indian descent members alone, right? So I think it's important for us to have a representative within the local leadership that represents that community. And then also a diversity of thought, someone that brings fresh ideas, a new look, right, to the table. And then through, I would say one of the benefits of my career, I've had an opportunity to service, I would say one of the larger companies in terms of Facebook, Seagate, Marion Technologies, DoorDash, or Nextdoor, right? All these companies are innovative, right? In terms of I get to see them firsthand in terms of how they operate, how they progress forward, and that's the outlook that I can bring to the planning commissioner. As you'll find, I'm easy to work with, right? I have a pretty open mind, pretty flexible. I could follow directions and apply directions and instructions, but I could also take the lead and work independently when requested to do so, right? So you guys have my application in front of me. I would highly appreciate all consideration, and at this point, I open it up for any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
No questions, but I again apologize. We played email tag back and forth and just weren't able to close the loop and get together. But I do mean what I said in the email, that you have a very impressive resume. Everything I've heard about you is very impressive. So you just, in your few years, have accomplished quite a bit. And I thank you for submitting your application.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, actually, I would just echo that. Yeah, it's good talking to you.
Much appreciated.
Yeah. So that leads into the next question. Have you met any of the planning commissioners?
I've exchanged dialogue with one.
Okay. And have you outreached to the other members of
I
this
have,
council as
all of
well?
them. Yep.
Okay. Second part of it is, I understand your qualification as a CPA. Can you highlight anything that relates to planning?
So in terms of planning, understanding the general plan, looking at variances, cutting parcels, like I can pretend to tell you I have that experience, right? And looking at the makeup of the current planning commissioner, I think outside of one individual, no one had that experience coming into the appointment, right? So I think in terms of experience, if you have it, it provides you a good start, but it doesn't necessarily measure the amount of potential an individual has over their 6, 8, or lifetime term, right? So I think in terms of if you measure my potential in relation to other candidates, I would be able to bring much more to the table.
Okay. And the third question is, how do you feel about lifetime appointments?
So me personally speaking, I can't speak for the rest of the Planning Commission Board. I see myself serving 6 to 8 years, and I would hope that within that term limit, I could basically provide a lasting impact that would progress the next individual forward. So I'll take that as a story back to my college days. I served as president of Beta Alpha Psi. Beta Alpha Psi is a professional honorary accounting organization. I served as president my junior year and decided not to rerun the second year. And the primary reason behind that was there's nothing further for me to offer the organization, and there's nothing that the organization could offer me moving forward. I had learned so much as being the president in terms of running board meetings, having contribution meetings with the largest public accounting firms from the local area, and basically asking them for funding to run our organization, and constantly exchanging dialogue with the professionals as a college student. And that helped me grow so much professionally that it was only right for me to step away and allow another individual to have that opportunity. And that's how I would see this as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Oh, one more.
Yeah. Sorry, Jesper. You know, I was just thinking, as you went through your experience and you were talking some more, I was just wondering, why Planning Commission? I mean, you're pretty talented, and I'm just curious what your interest is.
Yeah, so for me, overall, I'm just looking to get involved in the community. The first thing I saw when I searched the Elk Grove website was the vacant position for the planning. Given that I do have an interest in real estate, I've been a licensed real estate broker since 2006. My general passion is for real estate, and being part of Stephanie's district, I think there's a lot of endless potential with the site of the Go Small. There's a lot of empty lots in between. So I think there's a lot of unique things that we can do. I do have some ideas already, but I also understand that part of my responsibility as a planning commissioner is really to service the community and you guys in terms of the proposals that are presented to me. But if I do ever have an opportunity to, I guess, initiate an idea, I would be happy to do so as well.
Thank you.
Okay, I did have one follow-up. How long have you lived in Elk Grove?
So I've previously lived in Elk Grove within the Florin area. So we initially moved down from Orange County to the Florin area. We lived there about 3 years before moving down into Thomas. And now we just recently relocated in May of 2019 to the new development homes off of 99.
Okay, thank you.
Cool, thank you.
All right, excellent. Next speaker is Ram. Come on up, and you can correct me. Following Ram is Francisco Lujano.
Respected Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members, and staff for hanging out here for so long. My name is Ram Thanapandian, and I plan to move to Elk Grove, but that depends on your decision tonight. I'm just kidding.
We forgive you. There's plenty of homes down here.
I have worked with Tony for the last 2 years, and I can sincerely say this is not the first opportunity he saw open and jumped in. He has passed up many opportunities to support rather than be in the front. For some reason, this one, he wants to get in. Behind his cautious, careful speech, there's a clear-eyed, determined gentleman. I got to know that after 6 months. Initially, I thought, what can this guy get done? But if you just give him a chance, persist with him, you'll find a very sincere and really determined person, just like the officials I see behind that desk. He gets things done. He understands that dragging things for too long doesn't help anybody. Some of the key things the commission faces to make decisions, and Elk Grove is an amazing city. So people like Tony will bring a fresh view of the same things that they've done for many years as you grow. So with I came from Granite Bay. It's going to take me another hour to get there, but I want to hang on here to social support with all the other guys here. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Please give me a chance.
Model homes are closed right now, but feel free to hang around till tomorrow and take a look. Next speaker is Francisco. Following Francisco is Honeylum.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Francisco Lujano. I've been a resident of Elk Grove for over 18 years, and I'm here tonight to ask for your support for the appointment of Tony Lin. Tony is he's a man of integrity, and he will serve you well on the council. Thank you.
Honeylum. Following Honey is Douglas Tsai.
Good evening, Mayor Steve Lee, members of the City Council, and also the city members. I'm here to support and recommend Tony Lin to be part of your City Council Planning Commissioner. He brings a fresh perspective. Serving as the voice of the Chinese community, I am past president with the Chinese American Council of Sacramento, also served on a PAPA board and currently with the Locke Foundation board. Tony, during the last several years working with the PAPA, has proven that he can demonstrate leadership skills as well as being interpersonal, working well with people in the community. So I do support his venture to be part of the city council as a planning commissioner, and would highly give him a chance, and I hope that the city council will see his economic development strength and also his import-export acumen to bring business to city of Elk Grove and bring a stronger and healthy community. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Douglas Tsai. Following Douglas is Nandakumar Prabhakaran.
Good evening, Mayor Steve Lee and Vice Mayor and the council members. Well, my name is Douglas Shah. I'm a resident of the California Delta. And I want to thank Elk Grove because you are my lifeline. I come here for my doctor's appointment, grocery, banking, everything. Now, one more thing, aquatic center. Well, anyway, I want to say that
We appreciate your tax dollars, by the way.
oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, to strengthen my case, I own 2 properties in Elk Grove. Okay. All right. So I want to say that Tony, he has a great passion to serve, and in view of the growing tourist industry in Elk Grove, what was better than having a person with hospitality experience? I think 20 years ago he was a waiter, and 20 years later, he became a restaurateur, influential person in the community. And so in a few years from now, you can see where he's going to take Elk Grove to the next level. That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Douglas. Nanda Kumar, and then Sean Yang.
Hi, respected mayor and council members. I'm here to support Tony. I have known Tony for more than 2 years, and I have participated in the various engagements that he has planned and taken from inception through execution to closure. He has managed supply and demand as well, and he has a lot of experience and wisdom to solving practical problems. He has experience from business as well. He has a well-rounded personality. I think Tony is the right person for this position, and that's why I'm here to support him.
All right, thank you. Our next speaker is Sean Yang. Following Sean Yang is Sini Ramanujan.
All right. Good evening. I'm excited to be here. First, I'd like to greet Mayor Lee, Vice Mayor Steve Drettrick, Darren Soon, Pat Hume, and of course, the beautiful Stephanie Nguyen.
We got one vote.
You got brownie points.
So, absolutely. So my name is Sean Yang, and I'm here to support my good friend, Tony Lin. Tony and I, we know each other for 2 years, and we have done a lot together within this 2 years. First off, I'm a volunteer for APAPA as a regional chair that overseeing 6 chapters, and going to be 7, and the 7th chapter is going to be in Elk Grove, and I'm excited about that. So as a regional chair, I have worked closely with Tony, and Tony, he brings a lot of strength, a lot of unity, a lot of leadership. What he mentioned earlier is great resume, but what he missed to state is a couple projects that I think that we should know about. So he's in charge in leading or assist in special projects in San Francisco, in Vacaville, and here in Elk Grove, and projects that couple millions to multiple millions. So to me, he's definitely qualified because of those projects and the experience that he has worked with elected officials, community leaders. He's really playing as a judge, as a person who evaluates the project and then basically connect the information with other people's. So if I may, I'm going to go ahead and read the planning commissioner primary job so everybody could hear it and understand clearly. So planning commissioner's primary job is to make land use decisions that are consistent with the policies and plans formally adopted by the city council. Therefore, the primary of a planning commissioner must be to develop decision-making skills and knowledge of city policies. So with that said, I think Tony may not know all the policy because he has not sit on that seat. But knowing his background and what he's been through, I can assure you it will take a little time for him to know these policies and use his ability and judgment to make decisions that will reflect in terms of benefits to the city of Elk Grove. So thank you very much for listening to what I have to say. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Yang. The next speaker is Sini. Following Sini is Krishna Lakshina.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Srini Ramanujam, and I'm here to support Tony Lin. I worked with Tony on multiple events for APAPA, and based on that experience, I can say Tony does anything and everything with passion. So he will serve the city well. So please give him an opportunity, and then he'll do a very good job. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Krishna. And then Viraj Shah.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. And I'm here to support Tony Lin. Basically, I own a small business, IT consulting firm, and I have personally known, I'm also an outreach chair for APAPA, Greater Sacramento, and I personally, myself and Tony, we worked on a governor's appointed committee from the scratch, so I know how committed he is, how dedicated he is in his job. I really want to support him on this thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Viraj Shah and then Maureen Gill.
Hi, council members. My name is Viraj Shah, and I would like to be considered for running for a council member position. I'm sorry, a commissioner position for the planning division. Thank you, Mayor Lai. You had actually reached out back to me. I emailed each one of you guys individually. I do apologize. I didn't get in touch in time. I did have opportunity to chat with Darren. I know Steve and I communicated back and forth, and Pat, we weren't able to connect this afternoon. The reason I wanted to join this volunteer organization was because I wanted to actually give back to the community. My background is in healthcare right now, but when I first started out, I actually was in construction. My whole family's in construction management. I'm an immigrant. When I came here, I thought I wanted to go into construction, was going to be a civil engineer, urban planning. But halfway through my college career, due to some health issues in my family, I decided to look at something else in healthcare. But urban planning is really important for me because I grew up in a place where it was poor urban planning, and I can see when urban planning is not done well, it actually leads to chaos. And I do not like chaos, especially in the field that I'm in. I came up to Elk Grove about 12, 13 years ago. I moved up from Southern California. My wife and I left that area because we wanted to find a place where we can put our roots down, kind of like the tree that's in our city seal. And one of the things is that I've enjoyed Elk Grove very much so. My 2 children have been born here. I'm active in the community. And one of the things that really kind of brought me back to this was because Kevin Spees asked me to consider this. Kevin is part of, he's the president of our Rotary Club, and I've talked to some other people here locally based in planning, and I very much enjoyed how the city is headed. But I'd like to kind of see if I can be involved in a new direction and elevating the city to, I think, it could be a cultural and actually a residential powerhouse here in the Central Valley. I would like you guys to go ahead and consider all the candidates. I'm here to serve in whatever capacity you need. I plan on being here in Elk Grove for many years to come. I plan on raising my children here, being involved in the school. As I'm actually involved in the school site council, I'm the president there at my kids' school, to belong to several foundations here from Invictus, where we do sports clinics for kids and try to involve the community together, to running my own practice with my wife here in town. But more importantly, I like to go ahead and give back as much as I can. So I have worked on many boards. You have my application, but I didn't list a lot of the other things there because I think it should be based on what I can serve for you. And my background allows me to use processes, consider looking at rules, regulations, especially what I do in healthcare, but also in building, coding. And as Mr. Herrera said, codes change, and also that Hollis said, the codes will change, but sometimes some things stay the same. Traffic is traffic. One of the biggest things that allowed me to kind of consider this was looking at traffic patterns on Elk Grove Boulevard recently. It took me 25 minutes to get across from Harbor Point to the 99 freeway the other day. 25 minutes. I was 15 minutes late for a meeting. So those are some of the things that really drove me to.
Thank you, sir.
this.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, not
Okay.
a question. I
Go
just
ahead.
want to say, Viraj, thank you for reaching out. I'm sorry our schedules didn't work out to be together, but I appreciate both what you've stated at the podium today as well as what you put in your letter of all the different foundations and organizations. You mentioned a couple, Invictus and the Rotary, and as well as your vision screening, and you're involved with the elementary school. And so I appreciate you being involved in your community and wanting to take that up to another level. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, I just want to add that, I've seen your work in the community. I do really appreciate that. Your effort doesn't go unnoticed, and appreciate your generosity and your willingness to give. I do have a couple questions. How long have you lived in Elk Grove?
It will be 12 years, actually 12 and a half years, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, July.
And certainly you reached out to the council members. Did you reach out to the commissioners?
I did not have a chance to reach out to commissioners. I came to this late in this process. Kevin, Mr. Species approached me privately and he told me to consider this as consideration. I had gone back and forth. And I know this position does take time, and I had to talk that over with my wife, my business partner, and I had to kind of figure out if this is right for our family. And I did come late to this process, so I do apologize for that.
Okay, and you had mentioned briefly that you used to be in construction.
Yes.
Any component of that includes planning?
Yes, so my father ran construction companies. He still actually does that. He's worked for Caltrans in the past. But my father runs currently a subcontracting company in Southern California. It's not in this area, so it would not be a conflict of interest at this point in time. But I also knew Gary Grunwald, who was one of the big engineers here in town. He was one of my patients before passing away prematurely. And I very much enjoy looking at processes from where I've lived. I've lived in Irvine, California to Cerritos, California. Darren and I talked a little bit about that. And these are master plan communities where I think we can take some of those highlights of what they have done, which is done well, and then certain things that they can definitely work on. I come from a city, I was raised in Cerritos, California, which is very much like this. It was Dairy Valley, Artesia, which is a lot of Portuguese dairy farmers, kind of like Elk Grove. And they developed a master city on dairy land, like Elk Grove. And what they did was able to plan things in the city where they actually right now give anywhere between $2,000 to $6,000 a year back in tax revenue to the residents. They have tax surpluses of that much per year. They have their own police center, they have their own library, they have a performing arts center. They have an industrial area where it does not even look industrial. It looks like a housing development. But they're able to do these things in a grand vision. And I think Elk Grove has started in such a great way, but I think we can take that forward. We can learn from our colleagues in other cities, and maybe meeting with the League of Cities, as some of your colleagues do here in the city, and the administrative staff does here in the city of Elk Grove, maybe doing that and planning it to make our city a world-class city.
And the last question, how do you feel about lifetime appointments?
I think that'd be great. As long as my wife doesn't kill me first, I'm good to go.
Well, that would
Still lifetime.
determine the lifetime.
Yeah.
Yes. No, lifetime, I would be more than honored to do that. I would like to add that if the committee or the council members felt that I was not doing due justice to the position, I would be gladly resign. But I'd like to do as best of my abilities as I can. I've worked with many different groups, from financial to nonprofits to health-based groups, working organizations, running surgical centers, doing a lot of different things. And I am pretty open to work with, but I'm very passionate, and I have no conflict of interest. Some of my other applicants do have real estate things, they have backgrounds where they're brokers and things. I have none of that. I'm here just to serve. It does not matter if you appoint me to things. There will be no conflict of interest with me trying to create a new real estate scheme or trying to go ahead and help some of my clients there in real estate to kind of push through legislation or planning something here in the city. So for me, it's just about service.
Excellent. Any other questions, members? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Maureen Gill.
Thank you so much. This is my first meeting that I've been to. I've lived here for 15 years.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's very nice to meet all of you, and I've learned a lot tonight. I wanted to recommend this young lady that came up here, Hollis Erb, for the position of being on the Planning Commission, because she is someone that I would love to represent me here as far as her knowledge base. She already has been coming to all the planning commissions for the past 4 years, except when she had knee surgery. I think all these people are great, but I don't think they're as familiar with Elk Grove as she is. I think having a senior woman in charge and being in the commission is also very much of an asset. Someone with gray hair and who is retired and who has a lot of energy and has a lot of knowledge base. And I want to hear more information from her and about her, if it's at all possible. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right. I see that there are no additional members of the public sign up to speak. So let's go ahead and close public comment and move to council deliberation and direction. Members who'd like to jump in first?
I'll go first. So I took a look at this and it looks.
Yeah. You get called beautiful, and all of a sudden you're like, let me jump out there right away.
I looked at the districts that were represented, and the good thing is we've got currently our commissioners, there is somebody from every single district. So we can't go wrong with finding somebody from any of the districts here. If we're looking at wanting to diversify the Planning Commission, because that's what we talked about. Right now, we have Ms. Mackenzie Weiser, and we talked about having another woman on the commission. And I appreciate Ms. Hollister and I had a very great conversation. I love the fact that she's been coming to the Planning Commission. I remember the first time she came and she spoke, and that she continues to come to the Planning Commission. I do know that Mr. Suman Singha is here in the audience, and he didn't choose to come up to speak. I've worked with him for many years now, and he is definitely somebody that is not only very, very well known in our Elk Grove community, but also works with our community as well too. So I know he didn't speak, but his resume speaks of his experience. And we had some wonderful folks here tonight. Waldo is one of them, who's been very much so involved in the the Chamber of Commerce. And then I love what Mr. Vora spoke earlier, and his vision, and the fact that he's got that medical background and the father in construction. I will say, you know, I'm very impressed with Mr. Tony Lin because he was able to gather many of the community to come out and to get Mr. CCN, the founder of 20-something McDonald's, to be here at 9 o'clock at night is impressive because I don't see him quite often in the community. And so one of the things I noticed that many of the folks spoke about is his community involvement. And this is definitely a lot of volunteer work, and that they spoke about him and his volunteer work in the community, and the fact that he does work with not just our city here, but also in the Bay Area as well too, so he experienced out there. So, you know, I would say that of everybody on here, I would say we can't go wrong with Hollis, Mr. Suman Singha, or Tony Lin, and just based what I say. I want to thank everybody for applying and for coming out, and this is really tough for us because we've got some great applicants here. So I'm going to stop there so I can let my colleagues chime in.
All right, who else?
Mayor?
Councilmember?
Yeah, thank you. I think Councilmember Nguyen had similar sentiments as mine. I also want to recognize Suman in the audience. His involvement in the Del Webb community with the food bank, I think should be duly noted, as well as Mr. Herrera's involvement on our chamber, Elk Grove Chamber. And appreciate Mr. Speece's recommendations, because through that, you know, we had a couple other making our decision harder. So I don't know about thanking him, but I do appreciate the talent coming here. I think I was very impressed with Jaspreet and Viraj for their backgrounds, and as well as their, I believe, would be their good decision-making ability. I want to just emphasize the, you know, when you get this pool of candidates, I think, you know, you're always looking for, you know, what's going to stick out. We already mentioned geographically, that's not an issue. All of you showed up here tonight, which is also a kudos to you for doing that. And there's a diverse set of experience among all of you, which I think is fantastic, all of which could add a lot of great perspective to our commission. But I also want to emphasize the involvement in the community, and because, you know, the ones I mentioned, I mean, well, first of all, I didn't mention her, but echoing Councilmember Nguyen, I mean, I think Hollis, I've known Hollis, and she moved into my community, my neighborhood, serves on my HOA, and I know she's very active. So I think, and her previous planning commission experience can be readily applicable to here. Tony Lin, as many people talked about too and highlighted his experience. I know Tony personally as well, and I know while maybe not directly in Elk Grove at this time, you have a lot to offer. So I think, and your I'll call your entourage, Tony, here tonight, I think speaks well too. So I like that. Suman, I agree. Also, as I mentioned, would add a lot, brings diversity, brings someone from our more wise community, I would say. And yeah, I'm gonna, Waldo, again, with your construction experience, also bringing another, your immigrant story, I think is great as well. And Jaspreet, very impressed with you, and I'm gonna call you young man because I think I do have a few years on you, but impressed with what you were showing. And then Viraj, our conversation about living in Irvine and Orange County, and the what I would consider good elements bringing here. I think those are all highlights. So yeah, so I narrowed it down to 6.
I know.
Sorry,
I was
I'm
just going to
wait.
ask, can you be a little bit more simplified, like Councilmember Nguyen, maybe top 3?
Well, she went to 3, and
yeah, do top 3. What's your top 3?
I can do. Well, I'll go with Hollis, Tony, Suman, but I think I'm gonna.
So those are the same top three as council member.
Yeah, but if we have to go with three, I'm gonna add in Viraj at this time for.
Viraj, in addition to the three, or in substitution of one of them?
No, in addition, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go 4 for now.
4, so that's Mr. Shaw. Okay. All right, you want to go?
First of all, I just want to congratulate Darren on getting it narrowed down to 4. I mean, the fact that he was able to whittle down from 15, that's good, Darren. I do appreciate that.
I guess I literally talked out loud, my thoughts out loud. Thank you.
And Viraj, I just appreciate the fact that you were able to realize that becoming an engineer isn't the end-all, be-all. So congratulations on your optometry business. And Tony, I got to tell you, I don't know if we can sustain the influx of growth that Elk Grove would experience if we appoint you as a planning commissioner, because getting the actual applicant to come out and plead their case is one thing, but for somebody to bring such an entourage, as the word was used, is pretty amazing. But I want to say that the thing I'm most filled with right now is humility and gratitude. And that's because I had a pretty easy path to the Planning Commission back when we incorporated. At that point, it was individual council members, and I just was more or less handpicked from a group who only had to have one person making that decision. And I don't know up against you folks that I would even make the top tier and have the opportunity. So every one of you that have come out and looking over your resumes, it's very impressive. And I'm grateful for the chance that I had to serve. And I also know that any of you will do great things. But I want to also say something that I think it was Jaspreet that touched on, is what you bring to the table is only part of the equation. What you do with it and how that interfaces with the other people that are sitting up here is the other part of that equation. And so I happen to be fortunate enough to have a land use and development background that I was able to bring that experience to be able to educate my colleagues on that. But I was up there with a small business owner. He had the Taco Bells, not the McDonald's CCs, I apologize. But small business owner, the retired undersheriff, and a lawyer. And so everybody had different expertise that they brought to the table. So I just think every one of you that has stepped up and put your hat in the ring, I congratulate you for that. I could do Darren and probably whittle it down to 6 fairly easily, but my number one, and if for nothing else, it's for tenacity and dedication. Has to be Hollis, I think, because this is her 3rd attempt. She keeps coming back. She doesn't take no for an answer and goes to the meetings even though she hasn't been appointed, and that to me shows a grit that would be well served within the city. And then I won't even rank them 2, 3, or 4, but my next range would have to include, I think, a lot of the names. I don't know Mr. Singha, so I apologize. It sounds like you're a great person. Your resume is very good, but I don't know you. I haven't had an opportunity to interact with you. So I would put Waldo Herrera in that top list. I would put Tony Lin, just based off the people that believe him, in that top list. And I would put Jaspreet and Viraj. And so those are all names that I think have been mentioned here tonight already. And that's who I would agree. And I also want to congratulate the mayor for getting like 98% of the names right. Calling.
Yeah, that's my biggest challenge, right?
I'm telling you, tonight was
I get beaten up all the time,
sure.
but the truth of it is that I've gone through my whole life with my birth name that people have butchered. It's Singh Sava, and so I completely understand and appreciate. And when I make the mistake, please do correct me. So I really do appreciate that. That's good. All right, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, you guys didn't make it any easier on us tonight, I'll tell you that. And Tony, yeah, you bring out all the hired guns to, help you out there. I appreciate, one, just applying, because service, I know several of you in here are Rotarians, and it's the whole idea, service above self. And being a planning commissioner is definitely a selfless job. You come in, and the amount of time that you're going to spend, if I'm not mistaken, their binders come out 2 weeks in advance of their meeting. So they've got 2 weeks to look at these binders and, for those who haven't seen them, this is a small binder this week. So you can imagine what some of the planning commission meetings will be. So it can be a pretty big binder at times and a lot of information to go through. But, I appreciate all of you that applied that aren't here as well. But those of you who applied and actually listened to me, to actually talk to all the council members and come and speak, because that's a huge part of it, because there's a personal relationship that's developed. It also shows what your speaking skills are, how you're able to articulate your ideas. And so, again, I appreciate all of you. I'm going to have to, I narrowed it down to 6, which is pretty hard to do.
That's what I said. I said 6.
And Hollis, I have you as number 1 for many of the same reasons. One of the things I've always talked about up here is my belief is you want to try to look at the people who have the best credentials to do the job. And I think that it'd be pretty hard to argue. A lot of you have good background. She's got great background. It's almost like somebody with a 4-year degree and somebody else got a PhD. She's got the PhD. So she's my number 1 choice. The rest of you, it's tough. You're so close. I'm just going to rattle off the names. Faraj, you're right at the top of the list. Jesprit, Waldo, and Tony. I guess I had 5. Did I miss anybody on that? Let's see, 1, 2.
I had Suman.
3, 4, 5. No, I had 5. So those are my 5. Hollis, Tony, Waldo, Jesprit, and Faraj. Not in that order, just that those are my top 5, except I do put Hollis a little bit above everybody else.
Okay. Well, thank you, members. This is always a difficult choice. But the one thing I'd like to say is, since I've been mayor, I have really grown to appreciate those who have come forward to be willing to serve, especially when this is something that is for the good of the community, but certainly, terrible pay. Every time I meet folks in the community that wants to get involved, I get excited, and my appreciation for the community, the citizenry is restored again and again. Certainly in this pool, we saw folks that are highly qualified. And the one thing that I did really appreciate is the fact that there are folks that reached out to me, the council members, and my suggestion consistently through anyone who talks to me is talk to my colleagues. Not only that, but talk to your future colleagues. Being that you're going to have to work with the planning commissioners, you should really get down to earth and really get to know them, because sometimes there may be issues in which you argue passionately, but I want you to be able to walk out of the chamber being pals and friends again. That is the reality of these things that come before us or the planning commission. That being the case, I did struggle, and I've had. Like Daniel Ming reached out to me, Hollis, Tony, Waldo, what else we have? Jasprit, Amandeep, Inderjeet, and Mr. Shaw, and that just makes it extremely difficult. One thing that I've always wanted to do is make sure that I get input from my colleagues here on the dais. What I have been telling is kind of like a top list. One of the things that I did see a common denominator is Hollis and Tony, and I believe those are the two that that stuck in my mind because consistently everyone did mention their name. That being the case, it certainly makes it a difficult decision. But I think what his testimony tonight is the effort in which Mr. Lin brought out. The fact that Mr. Lin is connected to the community, I think that's a really positive sign. The fact that you lived in the community for 20-plus years, that is also a bonus. Now, I have to qualify this a little bit by also saying that I am a mayor that does not believe in lifetime appointments. I think that if any commissioner, every committee that is being appointed, you have your time, you make your difference, and you move on. A community is always changing, and there's always a time in which you would hang your hat and said, I've made a difference, and this is time for me to move on. Now, the question here is, what amount of time, right? Some of the speakers tonight suggested a time frame. I don't know what that will look like, but I certainly did particularly appreciate Waldo Herrera's, a point in highlighting, checking with the mayor and the council members. And I think one other speaker had mentioned, I think it's Mr. Shaw. I think that in the spirit of cooperation, the spirit of moving the community forward, that is extremely important to continually check. And sometimes there may be circumstances in your life that won't allow you to attend these planning commission anymore. It certainly is okay to approach me or council members and say, maybe it's time for me to move on. Don't be fearful of that. You won't be ashamed for letting us down. This is an opportunity to serve. I appreciate each and every one of you and your diligence. But at this point, I'm going to move forward Tony Lin as the nominee. We good? All right. Okay. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, everyone. And meeting's adjourned.
Congratulations.
President.